Chapter 1. Pain. Heart-wrenching pain. Li Zishuan felt as if all the bones in his body were broken. He couldn't help but wonder, didn't I just drink a little too much last night? Why is my whole body in so much pain? I won't drink again, even if I'm beaten to death. Li Zishuan was an engineering graduate student at an ordinary university. He majored in precision instruments. This year, he was already in his third year of master's degree and was about to graduate. His school was just an ordinary university in Beijing. Facing the army of job seekers after graduation and the sky-high housing prices in Beijing, Li Zishuan expressed that he was under a lot of pressure. Before graduation, a few of his roommates wanted to get together and have a farewell dinner. Li Zishuan, who had never drunk before, indulged himself this time and drank 2 bottles of beer. Then he swayed and passed out. At this time, Li Zishuan used all his strength to open his eyes. The scene in front of him shocked him. He was lying in a bamboo house. Through the small window beside the bed, he could see a small bamboo forest outside. He could also hear the sound of flowing water behind the house. F***CK. Shouldn't I be sleeping in the school dormitory? How did I end up in the wilderness? Could it be that someone took advantage of me being drunk and abducted me to this wilderness to do some shameful things? My God! Thinking of this, Li Zishuan's chrysanthemum tightened. He quickly glanced around to see if he had any clothes on his body. Phew! Fortunately, I'm not naked. But these clothes don't look like the clothes I wore before. Sigh. But the air here is really good. It's 100 times fresher than the air in Beijing. Li Zishuan took a deep breath and felt that the PM2.5 in his heart and lungs were purified a lot. Unable to endure the thirst, Li Zishuan wanted to get up to find some water to drink. Just as he was about to use his arm to support himself, a sharp pain came from his arm. He couldn't help but cry out in pain, "Ouch!" Then his body fell heavily on the bed. His whole body suffered a destructive impact. Misfortunes never come singly. At this time, Li Zishuan also felt a sharp pain in his head. Pieces of memories that did not belong to him appeared in his mind, just like a movie. The physical and mental pain finally made Li Zishuan unable to endure the torture, and he gloriously fainted. After an unknown period of time, Li Zishuan finally woke up. Only then did he realize that he had encountered the melodramatic transmigration that was written in countless novels. Li Zishuan couldn't help but grumble, F***CK. I've been reading time travel novels every day. Who would have thought I'd encounter something like time travel? After sorting out the memories of his body, he discovered that this body actually had the same name as his. He was originally the only son of a wealthy merchant in Chang'an. Since childhood, he had been spoiled by his parents in every possible way. However, due to a congenital deficiency, he had been frail and sickly since childhood. His father, Li Zishuan, had visited all the famous doctors in Chang'an for him, but in the end, they were unable to cure him. Moreover, many famous doctors had said that Li Zishuan would definitely die young and would not live past the age of 8. How could Li Zishuan's father be willing to give up on his son? Later, he used his connections to invite an old imperial physician from the Imperial Medical Department to treat him. The old imperial physician also said that Li Zishuan's weak body was incurable. However, if he could become the disciple of a master of internal energy and use internal energy to nourish his body, it might be able to make up for his congenital deficiency. Li Zishuan's father was originally a merchant. How could he know a true master of Jianghu? He used up all his wealth to invite a group of Jianghu swindlers. They were good enough to guard the house, but not a single one of them was proficient in internal energy. Seeing that his only son's health was deteriorating day by day, Li Zishuan's father was extremely anxious. Mrs. Li also washed her face with tears every day. When Li Zishuan was 6 years old, a white-haired old Taoist passed by the Li Zishuan residence to ask for a bowl of water. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of Li Zishuan playing in the courtyard. Seeing that his lips were red and his teeth were white, he was honest and cute. However, his face was pale and his eyes revealed a hint of sickness. The old Taoist immediately felt tender affection for him. He told Li Zishuan's father that he was the great elder of the Celestial Master sect of Mount Longhu. His title was Spiritual Void, Spiritual Void. He had traveled to this place and saw that Li Zishuan was congenitally deficient. He wanted to take him in as a disciple and pass on his sect's internal energy to nourish him. Although Li Zishuan's parents were reluctant to let their son go to a faraway place to learn martial arts, it was rare to see an expert of Mount Longhu. If they didn't seize this opportunity, their son's life might not be guaranteed. Therefore, Li Zishuan's father had Li Zishuan kowtow to his master and asked Spiritual Void to teach him well. In the mountains, time was unknown. In the blink of an eye, 8 years had passed. Li Zishuan had already learned martial arts, but his master was already on the verge of old age, and his time was almost up. In the spring of the first year of Jingguan, Spiritual Void passed away in meditation on Mount Longhu. Thinking of how his master had treated him like a master and a father for the past 8 years, Li Zishuan wept bitterly in front of his master's grave. After kneeling for a day and a night, Li Zishuan kowtowed and bid farewell to his master. He prepared to leave for Chang and to visit his parents, and then wander the Jianghu to become a chivalrous wanderer. Passing by Mount Zhongnan, Li Zishuan heard the sound of fighting ahead of him. Thus, he concealed himself and sped forward. He saw over 20 masked men fighting with a dozen or so servants and guards. There was also a pink draped carriage in the middle of the field. The battle was almost one-sided. In the blink of an eye, a few more servants and guards had died. Could it be that some family's young miss ran into bandits when she went out? Li Zishuan was too lazy to think more. He used the cloud-piercing steps, pulled out the long sword at his waist, and stabbed at a burly man who seemed to be the leader of the bandits. In the blink of an eye, the sword was like thunder, and it reached the back of the bandit's neck. The bandit leader was also a master. Feeling a strong wind coming from behind him, he was alarmed and hurriedly dodged to the side. However, a bloody mark was still left on his neck. The bandit leader steadied himself and looked at the attacker. It turned out to be a 14 or 15-year-old boy. He immediately shouted angrily, "Where did this little boy come from? How dare you meddle in my Bloodwind Stockade's business? Second brother, third brother, go and chop this little bastard up." In an instant, 2 bandits on the battlefield turned to attack Li Zishuan. However, Li Zishuan had been trained by Spiritual Void for 8 years and had learned the authentic Taoist mental cultivation method, Taishin Sutra. How could these bandits compare to him? In a short while, the 20 or so bandits were knocked down one by one. However, he did not take their lives, only seriously injuring them. Li Zishuan was slightly satisfied that he had achieved his goal of being chivalrous. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard a pleasant female voice behind him. "Young hero, be careful." It turned out that during the fight, she had felt a sudden change in the battlefield outside, and that someone had come to rescue her. The girl in the carriage had lifted the curtain and secretly watched from the side. At this moment, seeing that the battle situation had been settled, she was about to get off the carriage to thank this young hero when she caught a glimpse of the heavily injured bandit leader on the ground suddenly exploding and launching a palm strike at Li Zishuan's back. The girl was so frightened that her beautiful face turned pale, and she hurriedly warned him. Li Zishuan was in no hurry to dodge and was sent flying to the side of the mountain path by the bandit's palm. However, the side of the mountain path was a very steep hill about 100 meters high. Li Zishuan had just entered Jianghu and was sent flying off the cliff. When he was seriously injured and on the verge of death, he was taken advantage of by a transmigrator. Li Zishuan painfully rubbed his head. He thought of his parents and girlfriend in his previous life. He really did not expect that after drinking some wine, he would be separated from them for 1,000 years. He could no longer go back. He could not help but feel sad. But this body is also quite unlucky. It originally had the life of a main character. Who would have thought that after practicing martial arts, it would die as soon as it entered Jianghu? It's because it doesn't have enough Jianghu experience. This hero saving a damsel in distress ended with his own death. He didn't even see what the beauty looked like. TSK. Don't you think it's a pity? All right, regarding the previous owner of this body, Li Zexuan felt that this child had experienced enough twists and turns. He also had the aura of a main character. Originally, he had just mastered his martial arts and might have been famous in Jianghu very soon. However, he still lacked experience. Thinking of this, Li Zexuan found some comfort in his heart. In any case, he had been reborn. This brother had lost his life in order to be a hero and save a damsel in distress. He was much more miserable than he was. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps outside the house. After a while, an old man with white hair and a white beard and wearing a Taoist robe appeared in front of Li Zexuan. "Hey, little Lang Jun, you're finally awake. Don't move first. Your injuries haven't healed yet. Let this poor Taoist take your pulse first." At first glance, Li Zexuan could not help but feel a sense of familiarity from the bottom of his heart when he saw this sage-like Taoist. Perhaps it was because the master of this body was a Taoist, but Li Zexuan also felt a sense of familiarity with Taoism. At this time, the old Taoist finished taking Li Zexuan's pulse and said to Li Zexuan, "Little Lang Jun, since you've woken up, you're fine. However, your injuries were quite serious. When this poor Taoist found you, there were many fractures on your body. You still need to rest for a month to fully recover." Li Zexuan hurriedly propped himself up and cupped his fists at the Taoist priest. "Junior Li Zexuan, thanks Taoist priest for saving my life. May I ask for Taoist priest's name, and where is this place?" "This is Zhongnan Mountain. This is the thatched cottage where this poor Taoist temporarily stayed when he was picking herbs. 5 days ago, this poor Taoist found you at the foot of the mountain. At that time, you were seriously injured and unconscious. This poor Taoist saw that you were still breathing and brought you back to the thatched cottage. Little Lang Jun, did you encounter some bandits? How could you be so seriously injured?" The Taoist priest leisurely went to the wooden basin in front of the door and washed his hands. He turned around and said, "This poor Taoist is Sun Simiao. Little Lang Jun, where do you live? Why did you come to this deep forest alone?" "Sun Simiao, the king of medicine Sun Simiao, who has lived for 14 emperors, saved countless people, and lived for 141 years. Damn, I've just crossed over and met such a powerful person. I'm so lucky. Do I also have a protagonist's halo?" Li Zexuan was extremely shocked. After being stunned for a while, he respectfully clasped his hands to Sun Simiao and said, "So, it's Dr. Sunday. I've been saving lives and healing the wounded for a long time. Countless people have admired you for a long time. Thank you for saving my life. If you have any orders in the future, I dare not refuse." Then he told Sun Simiao about how he was weak when he was young and how he followed his master to Mount Longhu to learn martial arts to strengthen his body. When he returned home, he encountered bandits and accidentally fell off a cliff. Hearing this, Sun Simiao did not expect this little Lang Jun to have such a chivalrous heart after experiencing so many twists and turns. He looked at Li Zexuan with some admiration. "Little Lang Jun, I didn't expect your life to be so rough. When I felt your pulse before, I felt that you seemed to be congenitally deficient. Fortunately, your internal strength is quite good. Little Lang Jun, you should rest here for a few days. There is still some rice in this house. I was summoned by His Majesty yesterday, and will go to Chang'an today. Little Lang Jun, you can leave on your own after you've recovered. Don't worry, Taoist priest. I've mostly recovered and can take care of myself. In the future, Zexuan will definitely repay you for saving my life." "Haha, it's nothing. Little Lang Jun, you don't have to worry about me. I'll go first." Sun Simiao laughed heartily and turned to carry the medicine basket out of the door. Chapter 2. Phew, it's so hard to learn how to speak like an ancient person. Li Zexuan sighed as he watched Sun Simiao leave. According to the memory of his predecessor, Li Zexuan was currently living in the first year of Jingguan. Li Zexuan was still looking forward to this era, thinking about the heavenly Khan, thinking about the tens of thousands of countries coming to court, and thinking about Chinatown in the United States 1,400 years later. Li Zexuan's heart was filled with passion. He couldn't wait to see this feudal dynasty that the Chinese people were most proud of. But why don't I have a cheat? Before transmigrating, Li Zexuan had read a lot of transmigration novels. The protagonists who transmigrated either came with an awesome system or had a photographic memory. They were familiar with many poems from the Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty. When they had nothing to do, they would recite a poem, and then countless beauties would throw themselves at them. TSK, TSK. Thinking about it made Li Zixuan salivate all over the floor. But why don't I have anything when I transmigrated? Li Zixuan was an engineering nerd in his previous life. After the college entrance examination, he returned all the poems from the Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty to his language teacher. He could only vaguely remember some of the famous poems. Apart from writing programs, he usually went online to chat and play games. His girlfriends were all from the internet. Sigh, without a cheat, how can I survive in the Tang Dynasty? Without a cheat, I have martial arts. Li Zixuan suddenly remembered that this body had been learning martial arts from a master for 8 years. Li Zixuan was energized. He forced himself to sit cross-legged on the bamboo couch and tried to meditate according to the method in his memory. Originally, he just wanted to give it a try. Who knew that the process would be so natural? He even recited the Taishin Sutra without any awkwardness. At this time, Li Zixuan felt as if countless small flames had sprung up in his lower abdomen. As he circulated the martial arts, these small flames seemed to have received instructions. They followed a specific path over and over again, swimming in his limbs and bones. Li Zixuan felt warm all over his body. The places where his arms and knees were fractured were a little itchy, making him want to scratch them. Resisting the urge to scratch the itch, Li Zixuan continued to use the method in his memory. After 36 cycles, Li Zixuan opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of turbid air. He looked up and saw that the sky was already dark. He couldn't help but sigh at how fast time passed. Feeling his body's condition, he could not help but widen his eyes in shock. His limbs no longer hurt as much as before, and he even felt his body brimming with strength. Didn't they say that it would take 100 days to recover from a serious injury? I fell down from the mountain and suffered multiple fractures. How could I recover in a few days? Could it be that running the Taishin Sutra could speed up the recovery of the injury? Unable to find any other reason, Li Zixuan could only attribute the recovery of his injuries to the miraculous Taishin Sutra. As a young man from the 21st century, Li Zixuan really didn't think that martial arts really existed. According to the memories of his predecessor, the Taishin Sutra was the top internal cultivation method in Jianghu. It was divided into 10 levels. Li Zixuan had practiced martial arts for 8 years and had already reached the 5th level. Just like that, his strength alone had the strength of 1,000 pounds. Li Zixuan's master, spiritual master Ling Su, had already reached the 9th level. His strength was one of the top masters in Jianghu. Phew, I didn't think that there would really be martial arts masters in this world like in TV dramas. Then I can be considered a hero in the future, haha. Li Zixuan excitedly thought. This Taishin Sutra is really a good thing. I have to practice diligently in the future and reach the 9th level as soon as possible. Then I can also go up and down. When I have nothing to do, I can go peek at some rich family's young lady. Hee hee. Goo goo. At this time, his stomach suddenly made 2 sounds of protest. Hey, I have to get up and get something to eat. Let's see what old son has here. Li Zixuan got up and walked towards the kitchen. There's only some flour and vegetables. There's no rice, no eggs, no chicken, duck or fish. Good Lanru, looks like I can only eat 2 bowls of noodle soup. In his previous life, Li Zixuan was a child from the countryside. His family's conditions were not very good. As the saying goes, the children of the poor take charge of the family early. Li Zixuan had no problem cooking. Usually during the holidays, when he was with his little girlfriend, Wu Xiaoqian, he would cook because she liked to eat his cooking. In a small rented house of about 30 square meters, the two enjoyed the feeling of one person cooking and the other watching from the side. It felt like a small family. There was a touch of warmth. Forget it, I shouldn't think too much. Let's fill up my stomach first. After sighing with emotion for a while, Li Zixuan skillfully began to knead the dough. He rolled the dough, cut it into slices, boiled water, and then put it into the pot. After 5 minutes, he turned off the fire and put in some vegetables and salt. There was no oil, so he just ate it. After not eating for a day, Li Zixuan ate 3 big bowls of food before he put down his chopsticks with satisfaction. After cleaning up the dishes, Li Zixuan sat on the bamboo bed and began to think about what to do in the future. Become an official? Li Shimin had a lot of talented people under him. He had Feng Mao, Du Duan, Wei Zheng, and the like. He also had Li Jing, Qin Xiong, Cheng Yaojin, and other generals. What can I do if I go? Besides, Li Zixuan was an otaku in his previous life. He was not good at interpersonal relationships. If he wanted to mix well in the government, how could he do it without some tricks of the world? Become a wanderer? This body's wish when he was alive was to go home to visit his parents and then roam the Jianghu to help the weak. Although his martial arts were not bad, there was always someone better than him. What if he met an old monster in the Jianghu who slapped him and made him die? It was not easy to be reborn, so he had to cherish his life. Besides, there were no trains or planes in this era. Going out was bumpy and tiring. Running back and forth was tiring. After thinking about it, Li Zixuan still felt that it was better to go home and be a rich family's son. After being reborn, Li Zixuan had lost the love and affection of his previous life. He cherished everything he had now even more. What was the use of living so hard to earn so much money in one life? Life was only a few decades. Many people came and went in a hurry, but they neglected the scenery of their journey. Li Zixuan decided that he would live well in this life. He would protect the people he cared about and live happily for the rest of his life. From the memories in his mind, Li Zixuan knew that his parents in this life loved him very much. In order to treat his illness when he was young, they did not hesitate to use up all their wealth. This made Li Zixuan very touched. Parents in the world were pitiful. The most selfless love in the world came from parents. Their love for their children was really unconditional. He could not help but think of his parents in his previous life. His father faced the yellow soil with his back to heaven and earth, digging for money in the soil to support his education. For more than 10 years, his father had never complained of hardship or tiredness. However, time was like a butcher's knife, urging people to age. No matter how much his father persevered, time still made his father's hair turn white and bent his waist. Thinking of his aging father, Li Zixuan felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. Alas, it was not easy being a parent. Brother, go in peace. I will be filial to your parents. Dad, Mom, your son will not be able to go back. Take care of yourself over there. You don't have to support my education anymore. You don't have to work so hard. You have to live for yourself for the rest of your life. Zixuan is sorry. After making up his mind, Li Zixuan lay on the bamboo bed and fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 3. In the early spring morning, the moist morning breeze crept in through the window, gently caressing Li Zixuan's handsome cheeks. Birds chirped happily outside the window, as if they were telling the joy of waking up early. The sun stretched lazily under the urging sounds of roosters crowing in the distance. Not long after, the first ray of golden light pierced through the clouds. Half an hour later, the sunlight finally passed through the window and shone on Li Zixuan's face. Feeling the dazzling light, Li Zixuan finally woke up. Oh, what time is it? Quickly wash up and go to the cafeteria to eat. Habitually, he reached under his pillow to take out his phone to check the time. Naturally, he found nothing. Ah, I forgot that I've already transmigrated. Hey, Tang Dynasty, your brother is here. Since he was already here, Li Zixuan felt that his mental state today was quite good. He could go and see this strange world. But the bedboard was really hard. On my old waist. After sitting cross-legged on the bed and circulating the Taishan Sutra for 2 cycles, Li Zixuan got up and walked to the stream behind the house to wash his face. He looked down. Wow, who's this pretty boy? He's so handsome. The reflection of the handsome guy in the water had fair skin. His facial features were delicate and youthful, but they were sharp and angular. His eyes revealed a sense of fortitude, and he had a unique kind of ethereal handsomeness, unlike the male idols in the future. He was about 1.78 meters tall, and he was wearing a white suit, looking handsome and spirited. Tisk TSK TSK. I didn't expect to be reborn as a handsome guy. This face, this body, if placed in the future, it would completely crush those little fresh meats. Life is really lonely. I can obviously rely on my face to make a living, but I have martial arts skills and a belly full of talent. How can others live with this? Lisa Schwan, shamelessly narcissistic for a while, then squatted down, cupped the clear water of the stream, and washed his face. After washing up, he hastily made some food. After breakfast and cleaning up the dishes, Lisa Schwan picked up his long sword and went out. This sword was called Wind Chasing Sword. The sword was 3 feet long and weighed 42 pounds. It was made of extraterrestrial iron and could really cut iron like mud. Compared to the current smelting technology of the Tang Dynasty, this sword had an absolute advantage. Wind Chasing Sword was originally obtained by his master, spiritual master Ling Xiu, in his later years when he traveled in Jianghu. Later, when Lisa Schwan reached the primary level of the Taishan Sutra, his master passed the Wind Chasing Sword to him. Seeing this sword, the sword. If only his master was still here. In the early spring, Zhongnan Mountain was lush with greenery and beautiful scenery. Walking on a mountain path, one could feel the vigorous vitality of the entire mountain forest after the harsh winter. Lisa Schwan rushed toward Chang and city according to the direction in his memory. Well, I don't have a horse. This Mount Zhongnan should be at least 100 miles away from Chang, and it would take more than a day to walk. The Tang Dynasty seemed to have a curfew. If I can't reach Chang and before dark, I can only stay outside the city for a night. Thinking of the curfew in Chang, and Lisa Schwan couldn't help but feel anxious. Although this season wasn't as cold as the winter, the early spring nights were still quite cold. Yes, I'm someone who knows martial arts. How could I forget? Patting his head, Lisa Schwan became excited again. His way of thinking was still stuck in the modern world. He had to adapt quickly. It was a good opportunity to try out the feeling of the martial arts masters in the TV series using Qigong. Everyone had a martial arts dream when they were young. They hoped that one day they could easily jump 2 feet high, walk on snow without leaving a trace, and float on water with their iron palms. I digress. Lisa Schwan used all his strength to use the cloud-piercing steps. The trees on both sides quickly retreated. This speed is too fast. This should be equivalent to the speed of a motorcycle. I think I'll reach Chang by noon. Feeling the speed of the wind, Lisa Schwan was overjoyed. He secretly used the Taishan Sutra to recover his inner breath. At noon, Lisa Schwan finally saw the majestic Chang and city in front of him. He saw the towering city walls. On the city walls stood a row of soldiers. Outside the city gates, there was an endless stream of people and merchants. From afar, he could see the towering buildings in the city, rows upon rows of pavilions. What a prosperous scene. Following the flow of people, he successfully entered Chang and city. Chang and city was divided into more than 100 residential areas by 38 streets, which were called squares. Each residential area was surrounded by a wall. According to his memory, the Li family lived in Yongla Lane. Entering the city through the illustrious Virtue Gate, Lisa Schwan headed north. Looking at the endless stream of people wearing ancient costumes on the streets, Lisa Schwan felt as if he was in a costume drama. Wow, the girl in front of me has such a beautiful figure. The girl in front of him had long hair that reached her waist. Her waist was slender and her hips were full. She wore an orange open-collar dress that reached her ankles. As the dress was low, he could vaguely see the deep cleavage of the girl's breasts. Beauties in ancient costumes are still the best. Lisa Schwan loved beauties in ancient costumes in his previous life. He even bought a similar open-collar dress for his girlfriend. His girlfriend looked even prettier in it. Looking at the beauties along the way, he rushed to Yongla Lane. Half an hour later, Lisa Schwan entered the gate of Yongla Lane and walked toward his home. At the same time, in the backyard of the Li family. Miss, slow down. A 13 or 14-year-old maid was chasing a little girl who was pulling a kite. The little girl was about 5 or 6 years old. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She looked like she was carved from jade. Her hair was tied in 2 pigtails. She was pulling a butterfly kite and running happily. Not far away, a couple was looking at the little girl lovingly. "Master, look, Lana is always like a crazy girl. She can't stay idle." The older man patted the woman's shoulder and smiled. "Madam, Lana is still young. It's fine as long as she's happy." This old man's biggest wish in life is for Madam and the children to be happy. "Children," the purple-clothed woman's beautiful eyes trembled. "Master, I wonder how Xian'er is. It's been 8 years and hasn't sent a letter home. I wonder if this child's body has recovered." That's right, this couple was Li Zixuan's parents. Li Zixuan's father was Li Jingma and his mother was Yi Yuzhu. Li Jingma's heart trembled when he heard his wife's words. A trace of sadness appeared on his face, but was immediately concealed. "Yuzhu, you don't have to worry. I've asked around these years. Spiritual Master Ling Su is a true expert. I heard that he's one of the top internal experts in Jianghu. It's a rare opportunity for Xian'er to be his disciple. If he can't save Xian'er, I don't think anyone else in this world can." At this moment, a young servant hurriedly ran over and bowed. "Master, Madam, there's a young man outside the manor. He says he's Li Zixuan and wants to see you." "Who? What did you say that young man was called?" Madam Li asked the young servant with a face full of excitement. Her voice trembled. "He said he was called Li Zixuan." The servant was also frightened by his wife's excitement and replied reflexively, "Xian'er, my Xian'er." Madam Li ran excitedly to the manor door. At this moment, she didn't care about anything else. She just wanted to see her child as soon as possible. Even Li Jingma couldn't keep up with her speed. Sometimes, a mother's love could make a mother burst forth with immeasurable strength. The little girl called Lan also noticed the commotion. Seeing her mother leave in a hurry, she hurriedly followed behind. Chapter 4. A quarter of an hour ago, Li Zixuan had been standing in front of the Li mansion for a long time. His emotions were complicated. He was excited to return home, but he was also worried about meeting his parents in this life. Although his soul didn't belong to this era, he couldn't give up the family bond of blood. In this life, Li Zixuan had been away from home for 8 years. Now that the soul of another era was in his body, Li Zixuan was worried that his parents in this life might notice something. Li Zixuan paced back and forth in front of the Li mansion for a long time. The servants in front of the gate looked at him strangely. If it weren't for the fact that Li Zixuan was handsome and didn't look like a vicious person, they would have taken him to the authorities long ago. Li Zixuan finally calmed down and walked toward the gatehouse, as if there was another force in his body pushing him into the Li mansion. "Is your master and madam home?" Li Zixuan didn't remember seeing this gatehouse before. He probably entered the Li mansion after he left home when he was young. Even if this gatehouse was an old member of the family, he probably wouldn't recognize Li Zixuan after so many years. Seeing Li Zixuan's stately appearance, the gatekeeper was afraid that he was a young master of some family, so he didn't dare to be rude. He said, "My master and madam are here. What business does young master have with my master and madam? This humble one will go and inform them. My name is Li Zixuan. I have something to discuss with your master and madam. You can go and inform them." Not long after, a beautiful woman in purple walked quickly to the gate. Looking at the woman in front of him, time didn't leave many traces on her face. However, many strands of silver could be seen in her beautiful hair. Blood was thicker than water. Mother and son were connected by heart. Even if their souls didn't belong to this era, Li Zixuan could still feel the silent call in his heart. He was very sure that this was his mother. Mrs. Li was also very excited at this moment. Looking at the handsome young man in front of her, she could vaguely see the shadow of his childhood on his face. More importantly, her intuition told her that this was her son, and she didn't need any other proof. After staring at each other for a long time, Li Jingma finally caught up. Li Zixuan looked at the weathered couple in front of him and saw the deep love in their eyes. He thought of his parents in his previous life. He couldn't help kneeling on the ground and holding back the tears that were about to fall. "Father, mother, your son is unfilial. I left home for 8 years and was unable to serve you both." With tears in her eyes, Madame Li Zixuan hurriedly knelt down and hugged Li Zixuan. My Xian, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. My son has grown taller, but your face is still the same as when you were young. It's just that you've lost some weight. As she spoke, she stroked Li Zishuan's cheeks with both hands. Li Jingma's face was also filled with excitement. He kept turning his head and using his long sleeve to wipe his tears. He kept muttering, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." The family of three played out a heartwarming scene of mother and son reuniting in front of the door. The servant who went in to report just now was dumbfounded. He didn't expect this young man to be his young master. He thought to himself, "I've never heard that master and madam have a son. But fortunately, I didn't treat the young master rudely. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to stay in the Li family anymore." The little servant couldn't help but feel proud of his quick-wittedness. "Father, mother, who is this uncle? Uncle is already so old and still crying. Shame, shame, shame. Lana didn't cry when I was 4. A childish voice suddenly interrupted this heartwarming scene, causing the warm atmosphere to become stifled. It turned out that Lan's legs were too short to keep up with her parents' speed. Now that she finally arrived at the door, she saw her mother and a young man hugging and crying. This man was obviously much older than Lan, and was also much taller than Lan. But why was he crying at such a big age? Lana was puzzled, but she remembered that her parents had taught her to be polite when meeting outsiders. Thus, she said that sentence. Cough, cough. Li Jingma's face was full of black lines. His son had suddenly become his daughter's uncle for no reason. What the hell was going on? Li Zishuan also had an awkward expression on his face, but it wasn't because the little girl had called him uncle. After all, the soul in this body was 25 years old, and this little girl looked like she was only 5 or 6 years old. In his previous life, Li Mingzi was often called uncle by children of this age. What made Li Zishuan feel awkward was that he was being looked down upon by a little girl. He raised his head and looked at the little girl who was at the door. The little girl was leaning on the door frame and looking at him curiously with wide eyes. She looked very cute. Li Zishuan was also a little puzzled. Whose family did this little girl belong to? Why was she at his house? Lanner, don't talk nonsense. This is your brother. Mrs. Li didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she scolded the little girl. She turned around and smiled at Li Zishuan. Xian, this is your little sister. She was born the 2nd year after you went to Mount Longhu. She's almost 6 years old. Your father and I named her Li Zilan. Lan, hurry up and greet your brother. Li Zilan. It seems that my parents have been thinking about me all these years. Li Zishuan sighed in his heart when he heard his little sister's name. Li Zilan's little face was full of smiles. She ran over and grabbed her mother's hand. She pointed at Li Zishuan and said, "Mother, is this Lan's brother? Why didn't you play with Lan before? Why is brother so much taller than Lan?" Li Zishuan's 1.78-meter height didn't look like a 14 or 15-year-old boy. Looking at this cute little sister in front of him, Li Zishuan's heart also melted. He also secretly blamed the previous owner of this body. After leaving home for 8 years, he actually didn't come home to visit and only knew how to cultivate. He completely didn't fulfill his responsibility as a son and as a brother. He went forward and hugged Li Zilan. He smiled and rubbed his little sister's bun head. Lan be good. I'm Lan's big brother. Big brother used to be busy and couldn't come home. Now that I'm back, can you play with Lan every day? And Lan can also grow to be as tall as big brother if I eat more. Hearing that there was someone to play with her in the future, Lan excitedly waved her hands. Really? Lana wants to fly a kite. Lana also wants to go to Shi City to buy sweets, mud carts, and dolls. Big brother, will you accompany Lana? Accompany. Big brother will fly a kite with Lana in the afternoon. Tomorrow, big brother will accompany Lana to Shi City to buy things. Lana wants to pinky swear with big brother. Okay. Let's pinky swear. 100 years, no changes. Looking at the harmonious relationship between the siblings, Li Jingma and his wife were gratified. Their son, who had left home for 8 years, was finally back. The family of 4 was finally reunited. The two of them hadn't been as happy as they were today for more than 10 years. Their faces were glowing, as if they were a few years younger. Xian, Quickly go in. Tell your mother how you've been all these years." Mrs. Li quickly walked forward and pulled Li Zishuan into the front hall of the Li family. "Yes, mother." Chapter 5. In the front hall of the Li estate. "Xian'er, how's your body? Do you still need to go to Mount Longhu to cultivate after you return?" Li Zishuan's mother asked hopefully as she held onto Li Zishuan's hand, afraid that her son would leave her again in a few days. "Mother, I've already made some progress in my cultivation. Master said that my weak body is no longer a problem and that I don't need to go to Mount Longhu anymore. I can just cultivate at home." That's great, that's great. "Master, Xian'er's body is fine. He doesn't need to leave us anymore," Li Jingma's mother said happily, tears welling up in her eyes. Li Jingma was also very happy and couldn't help but want to laugh to the heavens, but he forced himself to hold it in. However, the slight smile on his lips betrayed the uncontrollable joy in his heart. He held onto his wife's hand and patted it lightly, trying to calm her down. "Madam, you can finally rest easy now." He then looked at Li Zishuan and said seriously, "Xian'er, it's all thanks to your master that you're where you are today. Although our Li family is a merchant family, we still need to know how to repay kindness. Your master saved your life, so you must be filial to him in the future. Do you hear me?" Hearing the mention of his master, Li Zishuan's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. He recalled the bits and pieces of his memories. Towards the master of this body that he had never met, Li Zishuan still held a lot of respect. "Father, master has already passed away half a month ago." Hearing this, Li Jingma and Li Zishuan were both shocked and saddened. After a long while, Li Jingma got up and patted Li Zishuan on the shoulder, saying in a deep voice, "Xian'er, don't be too sad. When you have time in the future, bring me to your master's grave so that I can pay my respects. Your master is our Li family's great benefactor." Li Zishuan nodded heavily. "Master, madam, it's time for lunch." At this time, a servant girl dressed in green came to the front of the hall. "Ah, I was too busy talking. Xian'er, you must be hungry. Shao He, tell the kitchen not to serve the food yet. I still need to make some of Xian'er's favorite dishes." Li Jingma's mother stood up and ordered the servant girl. "Yes, madam." Shao He hurriedly accepted the order and left. "Xian'er, sit here and talk to your father for a while. Mother will be back soon." "Mother, Lan'er wants to eat candied fruit pastries." Lan'er hurriedly requested from behind. "Okay, mother will make it for you." Li Zishuan's mother went to the kitchen to cook. In the living room, Li Jingma picked up his teacup and took a sip. "Xian'er, come and tell your father how you've been on Mount Longhu all these years." Hearing his father's question, Li Zishuan told him some of the important things that happened in his 8 years of learning martial arts. Of course, he didn't mention that he almost fell to his death on the way back. He just said that he encountered a group of bandits in Zhongnan Mountains and was slightly injured. "Father, how has the family been all these years? Father spent so much money to treat my illness when I was young. Has the family business been affected?" Hearing that his son was concerned about him, Li Jingma's father felt gratified. He slowly recalled, "Back then, Xian'er, your health was deteriorating day by day. I only hoped that you would recover soon. I didn't have the heart to take care of the shops and restaurants in Shi City. The other owners took the opportunity to suppress us, and the businesses of those shops became worse and worse. I simply sold off those silk and clothing shops to treat your illness. Later on, your master said that he could teach you inner strength to nurse your body and bring you to Mount Longhu to practice martial arts to strengthen your body. Only then did I have nothing to worry about and began to manage the shops again." Li Jingma's father paused for a moment, then took a sip of tea and continued, "Those people who coveted your father's shops didn't even take a look at the meat in my bowl. Humph! To think that I, Li Jingma, started from scratch and was able to establish such a large family business. Why would I be afraid of them? Less than 2 years after you left home, I crushed those shops that were suppressing us." Speaking up to this point, Li Jingma smiled confidently and released a strong and domineering aura. Li Zishuan didn't expect his father to be so powerful. In modern times, he would be a proper business tycoon. It seemed that he could be content to be a rich second-generation heir in the future. He hadn't experienced the life of a rich family in his previous life. Lisa Schwan was secretly pleased with himself for being born into a good family in this life. Who knew that his father would sigh again and say, "I'm not afraid of my business enemies. I can defeat them, but time is unforgiving. I'm already 48 years old this year, and my physical strength is much worse than before. Xian, I still need you to take care of this family business in the future." He couldn't be cool for more than 3 seconds. Lisa Schwan still didn't want to inherit the family business so soon. It would be great to be a rich second-generation heir. He hurriedly said, "Father, you're only 48 years old and in the prime of your life. I've been staying at Mount Longhu all these years and rarely come into contact with the ways of the world. How can I help you take care of your business? Wait for me to learn from you for 2 years, then I'll help share your burdens. At least wait for me to experience the life of a rich second-generation heir for 2 years," Lisa Schwan thought to himself. Fatherly thought for a while and felt that his son's words made sense. He said, "All right, then we'll wait for 2 years. Master Shinner, it's time to eat." At this moment, Lisa Schwan's mother walked in with a group of servant girls carrying bowls and plates. She said to Lisa Schwan, "Shinner, come quickly. Mother made your favorite base soup, mutton soup, and roast chicken. Come and try it. There's also Lan Er's candied fruit pastries," the little girl hurriedly said. There's everything. Lan Er, you're a little greedy cat." Motherly chuckled. The family sat down one by one. Looking at the dozen or so dishes in front of him, Lisa Schwan realized that most of them were steamed or boiled. There were no stir-fried dishes. It seemed that stir-frying wasn't popular in the Tang Dynasty. In fact, stir-frying had been invented long ago, but it hadn't been popularized. One of the main reasons was the lack of edible vegetable oil, mainly sesame oil. The earliest introduction of sesame oil could be traced back to the Western Han Dynasty, but it hadn't been popularized. The main cooking methods of the Tang Dynasty were still roasting, steaming, and boiling. Although they weren't stir-frying, these dishes smelled pretty good. Lisa Schwan hadn't eaten properly when he was unconscious for a few days. Seeing these dishes stimulated his appetite. He lowered his head and began to eat. "Big brother, try Lan Er's candied fruit pastries. Mother's candied fruit pastries are delicious." The little girl picked up a piece of candied fruit pastries and stood up. It took her a lot of effort to place it in Lisa Schwan's bowl. Of course, there's a trace of reluctance on her face, like a child giving away her favorite food to someone else. It was very cute. "Thank you, Lan Er. What do you want to eat? Big brother will help you get it." Looking at the candied fruit pastries in the bowl and the expression on his little sister's face, Lisa Schwan was very happy. It was good to be home. Lan also wants to eat fish. Mother's fish is also very delicious, but there are bones in the fish. It will hurt Lan Er's throat. Lan Er looked at the fish on the table. She had an expression of wanting to eat it, but she was also afraid. "Hey, what's so difficult about that? Look at Big Brother." Lisa Schwan picked up a piece of fish breast. There were fewer bones here. He infused his internal energy into the chopsticks. With a light shake, a few fish bones flew onto the table. Then, he dipped the fish into the fish soup and placed it in his little sister's bowl. "Here, Lan Er, eat quickly. This piece of fish has no bones." The maids and servants at the side opened their mouths in shock. Lan Er looked at her brother with eyes full of admiration. She clapped her hands excitedly. "Wow, Big Brother is so awesome." Father Li and Mother Li were also dumbfounded, using internal energy to eat a meal. The two elders really didn't know what to say. Since ancient times, there had probably been no one who ate fish like this. If spiritual master Ling Su saw Lisa Schwan using his martial arts here, he would probably climb out of his grave in anger and beat him up. However, Lisa Schwan didn't care about this. As long as he could make his little sister happy, this was nothing. This young master had martial arts, so he was willful. Chapter 6. After the meal. "Mother, I'm going to take a bath and take a nap. Last night, old son's bed was too hard, and Lisa Schwan did not sleep well. He started to feel sleepy after eating and drinking to his heart's content. Li Zishuan tried to convince himself. Isn't there a saying that spring fatigue leads to autumn fatigue and hibernation? Yes, Xianer. Mother has been getting people to tidy up your courtyard every day for the past few years. You can go there directly. Mother will assign 2 of my maids to your side and let them serve you. Xiaoxi, did you hear that? In the future, the 2 of you must serve Xianer with all your heart. Motherly said to the 2 pretty maids beside her. Yes, madam. The 2 maids hurriedly bowed and agreed. Their eyes were filled with joy. Their young master's martial arts was strong, and he was handsome. All the maids in the residence were lining up to serve their young master. They didn't expect madam to send them. Li Zishuan wanted to refuse, but after thinking about it, he didn't say it. He was used to living a poor life. In the past, it was always him serving his girlfriend. Now that he suddenly had 2 pretty maids serve him, he was really not used to it. However, this was a feudal society. He didn't want to be too different. Besides, he didn't want to reject his mother's good intentions over such a small matter. Of course, there was another reason. These 2 maids are really beautiful. Li Zishuan also didn't want to reject them. Although they couldn't be eaten, the 2 maids were only 13 or 14 years old. Li Zishuan wasn't that beastly. They were still pleasing to the eye. Of course, the cold and inwardly passionate Li Zishuan would never admit that the last reason was the main reason. Yes, mother. I'll go back to my room. Li Zishuan turned around and said to his little sister, Lan, I'll go back to my room. When I wake up, I'll fly a kite with Lan. Yes, brother, you have to keep your promise. Although Lan didn't want her brother to go, she still let him go to sleep when she saw his tired face. The Li residence occupied a large area. It was a courtyard with 4 entrances. Li Zishuan lived in a small courtyard on the west side. He looked at the artificial mountains and ponds in the courtyard, the pavilions and terraces and the corridors. Li Zishuan was deeply moved. In his previous life, he couldn't even afford to buy a place the size of a toilet in Beijing. He didn't expect that he would be able to live in such an antique supermansion. Even the small courtyard that he lived in was more than 10 times larger than those luxurious villas in his previous life. Sigh, having a rich father sure is great. Xiaohe, go get the kitchen to boil some water and bring it to my room. I want to take a bath. Li Zishuan began his depraved life of having everything served to him. Yes, young master. Xiaohe, who was behind him, quickly responded. Then, she lifted her green dress and lightly trotted toward the kitchen. After a while, the kitchen staff brought the hot water over. Li Zishuan walked back to his room. What are you 2 doing here? Get out. Seeing the 2 girls following him in, Li Zishuan was speechless and hurriedly chased them away. Young master, this servant will help you bathe. Xiaohe blushed and hurriedly argued. Li Zishuan looked at the 2 pretty girls. Xiaohe was wearing a light green dress. Her 2 big eyes were very cute. Her chest was rather low, but he couldn't see her cleavage. He could only see the outline of 2 little buns. They hadn't started to develop yet. Xiaoxi was wearing a light yellow dress. There was already a faint cleavage on her chest. At this moment, her face was blushing. This is a shy girl. Facing these 2 cute little girls, Li Zishuan, who had always liked to look at beauties in ancient costumes in his previous life, really wanted to let them in at this moment. Forcefully suppressing the desire in his heart, Li Zishuan still drove the 2 little girls out. Go, go, go. I'll bathe myself. He was really afraid that if he let them in, he wouldn't be able to resist eating them up. Although he wasn't a lullican, he couldn't resist such temptation. The 2 girls who were chased out looked at each other. They didn't understand why the young master would refuse their service. One had to know that the 2 of them had mustered up a lot of courage to suggest serving the young master in his bath. Inside the room, Li Zishuan quickly took off his clothes and jumped into the bathtub. Facing his little brother, Li Zishuan said with disdain, Tisk TSK, you still don't have enough self-control. It's just 2 little girls who haven't grown up yet, and you're already so excited. Look at you. After taking a comfortable bath, he felt sleepy and fell into a deep sleep on the soft mattress. Xiaoxi, why didn't the young master let us bathe? Outside the door, Xiao He was still thinking about the matter of being rejected as she whispered to Xiao Shi. How would I know? Is it because the young master doesn't like us to serve him? Xiao Shi was a little worried. In this era, the maids didn't have any human rights. If they made the master unhappy, it was common for them to be sold to the brothel. Master and Madame Li were very kind to the maids. If the young master didn't like them, they wouldn't have a good life in the residence in the future. That's not it. Xiao Shi, you're so pretty and have such big breasts. Why wouldn't the young master like you? I saw the young master sneaking glances at your breasts just now. Xiao He smiled mischievously at Xiao Shi. Li Zixuan didn't expect that Xiao He could still see through his deeply hidden eyes. Xiao Shi instantly blushed from her neck to her ears. She went up and scratched Xiao He. Xiao He, you're talking nonsense again. Xiao He giggled and quickly pinched Xiao Shi's arm to stop her from scratching herself. Xiao Shi, stop scratching. I won't say any more. Let's be quiet and not wake the young master up. Don't worry. I think it's not that the young master doesn't like us. He's just shy. I saw the young master blushing just now. Li Zixuan had a dream. In the dream, his girlfriend was crying. No matter how he coaxed her, she wouldn't stop crying. He was so anxious that he was sweating. His heart ached. In his previous life, Li Zixuan was neither tall nor handsome. He was also poor. However, his cute and petite girlfriend never left him. She was very attached to him. He was very grateful to her. They were together for 5 years. He had always doted on his girlfriend. Even if they quarreled sometimes, Li Zixuan would definitely apologize to his girlfriend and make her happy within an hour. Looking at his girlfriend in front of him crying without saying anything, Li Zixuan was really heartbroken. He couldn't stop his tears anymore. Brother, why are you crying again? Brother, don't cry. Lana will give you all my delicious food. A crisp and tender voice woke Li Zixuan up from his dream. It turned out that Lan was bored by herself. She was very excited when she thought that her brother would accompany her to fly a kite in the afternoon. However, when she saw that her brother hadn't woken up yet, she came over to take a look. Who knew that her brother's eyes were closed, but he was still crying? Lan immediately became anxious. Looking at his cute little sister in front of him, Li Zixuan realized that he was just dreaming. He couldn't help but think of the dream just now. He thought of his girlfriend's helpless crying. Perhaps that dream was real. He had transmigrated to the Tang Dynasty. Then he must have lost his soul and died. If his girlfriend knew about this, she would cry even more sadly than in the dream. Thinking of this, Li Zixuan's heart was ruthlessly stabbed by a knife. Brother, what's wrong? Seeing her brother staring blankly at her after waking up, Lan pulled Li Zixuan's arm worriedly. Seeing the unconcealable worry on Lan tender face, Li Zixuan secretly scolded himself for being a bastard. No matter how sad he was, he shouldn't let such a young sister worry about him. As for his ex-girlfriend Xiao Qian, Li Zixuan could only silently say in his heart, Xiao Qian, I'm sorry. If I could go back, I would definitely go back to find you. However, I really can't go back. I hope that you can quickly walk out of this shadow and find your next happiness. If Xiao Qian also came to the Tang Dynasty, how great would that be? I would definitely marry you. However, his girlfriend obviously couldn't come to the Tang Dynasty. Li Zixuan could only silently say goodbye to her in his heart. In a previous life, goodbye. Brother is fine. Let's go along. Brother will bring you to fly a kite. After thinking it through, Li Zixuan carried Lan and left. Chapter 7. The next day, early in the morning before dawn, the morning drum on the gate tower of the Taiji Palace in Chang and had already sounded. Then, drum towers on the streets facing the north and south followed one after another. The sound of the drum spread from inside to outside. The gates of the palace and the gates of the markets were opened one after another. A new day had begun. The people and merchants of Chang had begun a new day of bustling. At the same time, more than 100 temples in the city began to ring the morning bell. The sound of bells and drums intertwined, trying to wake up the whole city. But there was still one person who had not been woken up. It was Li Zixuan, who was still sleeping in his bed. as a glorious second-generation rich man. Why did he get up so early? In the east courtyard of the Li mansion. At the moment, Mrs. Li was helping Li Jingma dress. Madam, I'm going to check the accounts of the clothing store in the West Market today. I won't be back at noon. You can eat first. Why did you suddenly want to check the accounts today? Mrs. Li asked curiously. Nothing, just a sudden whim. Li Jingma seemed to not want to say more. He was about to wash up when he suddenly paused as if he had thought of something. He frowned and said, Why hasn't Xian gotten up yet? Isn't he a martial artist? Shouldn't he get up early to practice martial arts? Would his master allow him to get up so late? Hey, why are you pinching me? What scandal? Humph, Xian has suffered so much outside for so many years. What's wrong with enjoying life when he finally comes back? Are you still his father? You don't know how to care for your son at all. Mrs. Li pinched Li Jingma's soft waist with hatred. Okay, let go of me. I won't ask any more, okay? Let the brat sleep for as long as he wants. Li Jingma finally escaped from the clutches of the devil. He immediately walked out of the door, muttering as he walked. Unreasonable. Since ancient times, loving mothers have spoiled their sons. Mrs. Li naturally ignored Li Jingma. Since she had taken advantage of him physically, she would let him take advantage of her mouth. Otherwise, he would feel unbalanced, Mrs. Li thought. Late in the morning, in the west courtyard of the Li mansion, Li Zixuan, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly felt his body sink as if something heavy was on him. He hurriedly opened his eyes. What he saw was a little angel in a pink dress sitting on top of him. Big brother is such a lazy bum. It's already so late in the morning, and he's still not awake. Lan'er is already awake. As she spoke, she stretched out her small hand to pull Li Zixuan's cheek, giggling mischievously. All right, since Lan'er dares to ride on Big Brother, let's see how Big Brother will deal with you. After saying that, he straightened his body and put his hands under Lan'er's armpits, throwing her high into the air. Then, when she was about to fall onto the bed, he used his hands to cushion her fall. Lan immediately screamed in fright. She used her hands and feet to move around. After landing on the bed, Lan'er immediately got off the bed. She pouted and frowned. She shouted at Li Zixuan, Smelly brother, Lan'er will never talk to you again. After saying that, she was afraid that Li Zixuan would throw her again, so she quickly ran away. Haha, this little girl. Amused by Lan'er's cute expression, Li Zixuan began to get up and put on his clothes. At this moment, Xiao He and Xiao Shi hurriedly walked in from the outer room. There was a trace of smile in their eyes. It was obvious that they had heard the sound of the siblings fooling around outside. Young master, let us servants help you put on your clothes. Not allowing Li Zixuan to reject, the two little girls came up and got busy. Xiao He supported Li Zixuan's arms from behind, while Xiao Shi helped him put on his clothes. As he was much taller than the two little girls, Xiao Shi had to stand on her tiptoes to be able to stand on his shoulders. Li Zixuan could even see the beads of sweat on Xiao Shi's nose. This little girl must be very nervous at this moment. After putting on his outer clothes, Xiao Shi bent down to help Li Zixuan fasten his belt. As she was bending over, Xiao Shi's well-developed body revealed a deep ravine. Li Zixuan's eyes inadvertently glanced down and saw this bloody scene. Seeing such an erotic scene early in the morning, this little brother naturally had to show his respect. Seeing the little tent below, Xiao Shi's tender face was so red that it was about to bleed. Before a servant was sold to a rich family by a broker, they would naturally be exposed to some kind of education. Li Zixuan was also extremely embarrassed at this moment. Cough, cough. It's a natural reaction, a natural reaction. Xiao Shi, don't think too much. You have to keep your thoughts pure like this, young master. With this, Xiao Shi became even more flustered. When Xiao He heard her young master's strange words, she curiously looked at Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi immediately hurriedly helped Li Zixuan fasten his belt and hurriedly ran away. Young master, why did Xiao Shi run away? Seeing her good sister running away in a sorry state, Xiao He curiously asked. Cough, cough, nothing much. She was probably captivated by this young master's handsome appearance. Of course, Li Zixuan could not tell the truth. How beastly would he be if he had a reaction towards a 13-year-old girl? He could only shamelessly explain to Xiaohe. Xiaohe could not help but laugh out loud. Although her young master was indeed very handsome, who would praise himself like this? Her young master's skin was really thick. Xiaohe silently cursed. If Li Zixuan could hear her, he would definitely spit out a mouthful of blood. I am still a pure and innocent little virgin. How am I thick-skinned? Is it really okay for you to secretly talk about your young master like this? After breakfast, he greeted his mother and went to find Lan. He had promised to bring her to Shi City yesterday, so he could not go back on his words. When he arrived at the backyard, he saw Lan playing on the swing. When Lan saw her brother walking over, she pouted and lightly snorted. She turned her head and did not look at him anymore. This little girl was still angry about what happened in the morning. What a proud little lowly. Xiaoshi, let's go. Today, this young master will bring you two to Shi City. I heard that a group of Persian people came recently. They even know how to perform magic and can make living people disappear. Let's go. I will bring you two to broaden your horizons. After saying that, Li Zixuan was about to walk out of the courtyard. Although Lan did not look over, her ears were always listening to the movements here. Originally, she was still waiting for her brother to come over and apologize to her. When she heard her brother's words, she immediately could not sit still. I want to go too. Stinky brother, you promised to bring Lan to Shi City to buy things yesterday. You didn't keep your word. Lan immediately chased after Li Zixuan and angrily said, didn't Lan say this morning that she would not talk to me anymore? As long as brother brings Lan to Shi City, Lan will forget about the past and forgive brother for now. Lan expression was saying that she was giving him face, so he should not fail to appreciate her kindness. Li Zixuan was defeated by this little girl's expression. All right, let's go. Let's go to Shi City. Sanbao, Fu, the two of you follow us to Shi City. Look after the young miss and don't get lost. When they reached the entrance of the residence, Li Zixuan saw the two young servants who were guarding the door yesterday. As for their names, it was Xiaohe who told him their names yesterday. Yes, young master. The two young servants had a happy expression. Going shopping with the young master was more interesting than guarding the door. Just like that, the group of people went out. Chapter 8. Shops were not allowed on the streets of Chang'an. The imperial court had specially designated two areas for trading. These were the eastern and western markets. The eastern market was considered a domestic market. There were more than 220 types of goods sold there, including rare treasures from all over the world. The western market was an international market, also known as the golden market. There were close to 1,000 shops that traded goods. It was the largest and most prosperous international market at that time. Yongla Lane, where the Li family lived, was closer to the eastern market than the western market. They had to pass through 5 lanes. Fortunately, they had nothing to do. Li Zixuan led a group of people to the western market. At the same time, they could admire the authentic ancient architecture of the Tang Dynasty. Brother, Lan is tired. After walking for a short distance, Lan grabbed Li Zixuan's hand and refused to move forward. Li Zixuan, who was admiring the ancient architecture on both sides of the road, was speechless. They had only walked for a short distance, less than 2 miles, and this little girl was already complaining about being tired. However, he could not ignore her now. After all, she was his little sister. He should have hired a carriage in the morning. Lan hang on a little longer. We'll be there soon. No, Lan really can't walk anymore. Lan said with a bitter face. How about this? Let's walk slower. As we walk, I'll tell Lan a story, okay? Li Zixuan slowly tempted her. He had no choice. There was no way to hire a carriage here. He could not possibly carry Lan to the western market. When Lan heard that her brother was going to tell her a story, she immediately perked up. Her legs were no longer tired. She quickly stood up and held her brother's hand. Okay. Brother, tell me quickly. Li Zixuan smiled faintly. He held his little sister's hand and slowly walked forward. As he walked, he recalled, legend has it that a long time ago, the world was divided into the Dong Sheng Divine Continent, the Apergodania Continent, the Namba continent, and the Utter continent. In the Dong Sheng divine continent, there was a mountain of flowers and fruits. There was a celestial stone on the mountain. One day, the celestial stone cracked and an egg rolled out of the stone. The egg turned into a stone monkey when it was exposed to the wind. The monkey's eyes shot out rays of golden light and worshipped in all directions. The monkey could walk and run. When it was thirsty, it would drink some spring water from the mountain stream. When it was hungry, it would eat some fruits from the mountain. He had a great time playing with the animals in the mountains all day long. One day, the weather was particularly hot. In order to avoid the hot weather, the monkeys ran to the mountain stream to take a bath. When they saw the spring water flowing, they walked along the stream to find its source. Li Zishuan planned to tell his little sister Journey to the West. He had watched it countless times when he was a child, and he could still remember many of the plots very clearly. Moreover, the story was very long, and he could make it a long-term serial for his little sister. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about how to coax his little sister for a long time. Of course, he couldn't tell Lan and the others everything according to the original novel. After all, it was the Tang Dynasty now, and Tang Xuanzong still existed. Li Zishuan decided to give Tang Xuanzong a new alias. He would call him Tang Yin for the time being. He also changed the name of the place. Haha, I wonder what Tang Bohu would think of Journey to the West in the great Ming Dynasty hundreds of years later. Li Zishuan thought so mischievously, just as he was talking about how the great sage equaling heaven wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace and was imprisoned in the 8 trigrams furnace by Taishang Lao Jun. They had arrived at the West Market. All right, let's stop here for today. Let's go. Big Brother will bring you to buy sweets and watch the juggling. Li Zishuan was prepared to experience this ancient market. Ah, we're here already? The little girl obviously hadn't heard enough and looked reluctant. Behind her, Xiao He, Xiao Shi, Ah Fu, and San Bao obviously didn't have enough and looked regretful. Dear friend, please wait a moment. May I ask which story you told me earlier came from? My little sister likes this story very much. Suddenly, an 11 or 12-year-old boy quickly walked out from behind him. Beside him was a 6 or 7-year-old girl. He cupped his hands and said to Li Zishuan. In fact, Li Zishuan had already noticed that there were 2 people following them for a long time. After all, his kung fu wasn't for nothing. Since he felt that the 2 of them didn't have any bad intentions, he didn't bother to pay attention to them. They went their separate ways, and he didn't have the right to restrict them. He just thought that they were going to the West Market like him. He didn't expect that they were following behind to eavesdrop on the story. Li Zishuan glanced behind the boy and found that there seemed to be more than 10 people disguised as pedestrians in the crowd. They seemed to be faintly protecting the boy. He's probably the son of an official going out to experience life. Li Zishuan muttered in his heart. However, seeing that the boy was dressed luxuriously and had a polite attitude, and the little girl was looking at him with anticipation, Li Zishuan didn't want to be arrogant and offend them for no reason. Thus, he cupped his hands and returned the greeting. I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. This isn't a story sold in the market. It's just a story that I made up to coax my little sister. Oh, the boy in luxurious clothes looked disappointed. In fact, he also liked this story. He was just about to ask for the name and send someone to buy a copy to read. He cupped his hands again and said, Brother, you're a genius. This story can't be made up without a wild imagination. I'm Li Gaoming. This is my little sister Li Lizzie. I want to make friends with you. How should I address you? Li Zishuan didn't expect to meet 2 brainless fans of Journey to the West when he went out for a trip. He was helpless. Seeing that the boy didn't look like an arrogant and domineering person, he thought that he could make friends with him. Thus, he smiled and said, Little brother, you flatter me. It's just a story that I made up. It's not elegant. My name is Li Zishuan. I live in Changelfong. I'll make friends with you. This boy was the current crown prince, Li Zishuan. His courtesy name was Gaoming. As a result, he wasn't lying when he called himself Li Gaoming. However, in his previous life, Li Zishuan was an engineering student. How could he have studied the history of the Tang Dynasty so deeply? Naturally, he didn't know what Li Chengqian's courtesy name was. The little girl was Princess Changel, Li Lizzie. She was 7 years old this year. As her name suggested, She was a natural beauty. Her skin carried a sickly white color. Although she was only 1 year older than Lan she was much taller. Lizzie had suffered from qi since she was young. This could be considered a hereditary illness in the Li family. Li Chengqian had seen his little sister sulking all day in the palace. As a result, he brought her to the Western market to relax. He didn't expect to meet a boy who told such an interesting story. Just as he and his little sister were listening to the story with great interest, their blood boiling, the story suddenly stopped. Only then did Li Chengqian have the intention to chat. After the two introduced themselves, they chatted for a while. Li Chengqian said, "Brother Zishuan, there must be more to that story." Li Zishuan didn't expect that the charm of journey to the west would be so great during the Tang Dynasty. Of course there's more. What I told you just now was only the beginning. There's still more to come. Li Chengqian's face was filled with joy. In the end, he was only a child of about 10 years old. He excitedly said, "Then this little brother will pay a visit another day. Brother Zishuan, you must continue to tell me the rest of the story." Lizzie's face was filled with regret. Her brother, the crown prince, could frequently leave the palace, but as a princess, she could not disregard imperial etiquette. Li Zishuan naturally agreed. Afterwards, he parted ways with Li Chengqian, taking his little sister to go shopping. Seeing Lizzie's melancholy expression, Li Chengqian understood what was going on after thinking it over. He then said to Lizzie, "Little sister, don't worry. In the future, after I finish listening to Li Zishuan's story, I will immediately return and tell it to you. Okay?" Only then did Lizzie's expression change from gloomy to sunny. She happily smiled at Li Chengqian. Thank you, Crown Prince." Chapter 9. Li Zishuan and his group arrived at the Shi market. There were many inns, pavilions, taverns, and food stalls on the streets. Among them, there was an endless stream of tourists and merchants. In the distance, there were also some who from the western regions, Central Asia, and West Asia who came to Chang and to do business through the Silk Road. Some were selling gold, silver, and jewelry, while others were buying silk, porcelain, and so on. Looking at the bustling market in front of him, Li Zishuan was also a little shocked. One must know that the entire Tang Dynasty only had a population of 20 million, far less than later. It was really not easy to have such a bustling market in this era. In a few years, the people of the Tang Dynasty will welcome an unprecedented prosperity. Li Zishuan sighed in his heart. He accompanied Lan to buy sweets, dolls, and her favorite toys. He even brought her to see the Persian juggling show that she had been talking about for a long time. It was already noon. After walking for half a day, Li Zishuan was also very hungry and wanted to find a restaurant to eat. Xiaohe, which restaurant nearby has good food? Not knowing which restaurant to choose, Li Zishuan decisively threw the question to Xiaohe, a native of the Tang Dynasty. "Young master, Xiaohe also doesn't know. Xiaohe rarely leaves the residence and has never eaten here before." Xiaohe blinked her eyes and said carefully. Li Zishuan patted his head and thought that it was true. How could this little maid be willing to spend money to eat in a restaurant in the Shi market? "Young master, why don't we go to the drunken immortal restaurant opened by old master?" Xiaohe suggested. My father opened a restaurant in the Shi market?" Li Zishuan was very surprised. "Young master, how come you don't even know about your family's business?" Xiaohe could not help but laugh. Li Zishuan was also quite embarrassed. "Okay, then let's go to the drunken immortal restaurant. Does anyone know where it is? Lead the way." "Lanner knows. Father brought Lanner here last year." Lanner said enthusiastically. The little girl was excited when she heard about food. She was simply a little foodie. He bought so many snacks for her in the morning, and she was still not full. Li Zishuan was a little puzzled. "Then let's go." The group of people arrived at the Drunken Immortal in under Lanner's lead. This was a 5-story restaurant. It was very conspicuous among the low-rise shops. Just by looking at it from the outside, it looked quite grand. TSK, Dad is really rich. This is equivalent to a 5-star hotel in the future, and this is one of the family's businesses. TSK, I only knew that Dad was rich, but I didn't expect him to be so rich. Looks like the path of a rich second-generation prodigal had a long way to go. How can he spend so much money? Li Zixuan was just a poor loser in his previous life. He really didn't know how to spend this much money. When they entered the restaurant, the manager of the restaurant was a fat man in his 40s. When he saw Lanner, he immediately came up to her and smiled like a Methriel Buddha. "Oh, miss, why are you here today? Please come upstairs." He had never seen Li Zixuan before, so naturally, he didn't know that this was his young master. "Shopkeeper Liu, this is my family's young master. He just returned from Mount Longhu yesterday. Why don't you greet him?" Xiao said angrily when she saw that shopkeeper Liu ignored her young master. "Oh, young master, please don't blame me. I was blind. Young master, please come upstairs." When shopkeeper Liu heard this, he repeatedly apologized to Li Zixuan. He had also heard that his young master had a son who went to Mount Longhu to learn martial arts. He didn't expect to bump into him as soon as he came back. He couldn't help but feel that he was unlucky. "You don't have to be so polite, shopkeeper Liu. Uncle Liu, you've worked hard to help my father manage the restaurant all these years." Li Zixuan patted shopkeeper Liu's shoulder and tried to be as gentle as possible. After all, shopkeeper Liu was considered one of the upper management of the Li group. He had also made a lot of contributions. A few words of encouragement would let him continue to contribute to the Li group. There was no need to make things difficult for him over such a small matter. Li Zixuan wasn't such a petty person. Li Zixuan expressed that he was still very magnanimous. "Young master, what are you talking about? This is what I should do." When shopkeeper Liu heard Li Zixuan's words, he was so happy that the fat on his face jiggled. I feel disgusted looking at him." Li Zixuan quickly turned his head away. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to eat later. The group went up to the 4th floor and entered a private room. After shopkeeper Liu served some of his signature dishes, Li Zixuan and Lan sat down to eat. 2 maids and 2 servants stood by the side to serve them. "You guys should sit down and eat together. Why are you standing?" Li Zixuan expressed that he couldn't eat when others were looking at him. He quickly waved his hand to the 4 people beside him. "Young master, how can we do this? How can servants sit and eat together with their masters?" She hurriedly waved her hand and said. Although Xiao, he, Ah Fu, and Sanbao also wanted to sit down and eat, they all knew the rules. When they heard Xi's rejection, they nodded their heads in agreement. "What are you talking about? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Since I asked you to eat together, then quickly sit down and eat." Li Zixuan said impatiently. He still didn't understand the concept of class. Seeing that their young master was about to flip out, the 4 of them looked at each other and carefully sat down. With no one staring at him, Li Zixuan picked up his chopsticks and wanted to try the dishes of this 5-star hotel chef. In the end, he was disappointed. It was not as good as the shark fin soup made by his mother yesterday. Li Zixuan cursed in his heart. It couldn't be helped. The main reason was that the Tang Dynasty's cooking method was too simple. Li Zixuan ate a few chopsticks and didn't want to eat anymore. After eating these dishes every day, his mouth was getting bland. He had to think of a way to improve his diet. He planned to go to the kitchen of the hotel and see if he could get the chef to make something delicious. What should he make? Let's make KFC. It was suitable for both young and old. The key was that, in his previous life, in order to please his girlfriend, he learned how to make KFC online for a long time. He still remembered the process of making KFC in detail. At this time, Lanner also put down her chopsticks. She had eaten too many snacks in the morning. At this time, Li Zixuan said to Lanner, "Lanner, Big Brother will go to the kitchen and ask the chef to make something delicious that you have never eaten before. Do you want to eat it?" "What is it?" Lanner opened her big cute eyes and asked expectantly. "Haha, Lanner, you will know in a while." Li Zixuan laughed and left. He went to find shopkeeper Liu and said that he wanted the chef to make something new. He asked shopkeeper Liu to bring him to the kitchen of the hotel. "Wang Eru, come here. Come and greet the young master. The young master wants you to make something new. Do whatever the young master asks you to do. Do you hear me?" Shopkeeper Liu waved his hand at a fat young man in his 30s. Yes, shopkeeper," Wang Eru quickly replied. Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly bent over and said to Li Zishuan with a smile, "Young master, this Wang Eru is the best chef in our hotel. If you need anything, just ask him." "Well, sorry to trouble you, Shopkeeper Lu. If you have something to do, go ahead. Don't worry about me." Li Zishuan waved his hand at Shopkeeper Lu. "No hurry, no hurry. I also want to see what kind of new food the young master wants to make. Whatever. You can have a look if you want. The dish I want to make is called Kentucky Fried Chicken." Li Zishuan said indifferently. Then he ordered Wang Eru, "Give me 20 pairs of chicken legs." Since he had already made it, he might as well make more. After a while, Wang Eru brought back a large pile of chicken legs. Li Zishuan continued to instruct. "First, cut each drumstick into 3 equal pieces. Then, add some sugar, salt, and ginger to each piece. You can estimate how much to add. If it tastes good later, your salary for this month will be doubled. If it doesn't, I'll deduct your salary." Wang Eru suddenly felt a lot of pressure. His forehead was secretly sweating. He carefully controlled the ratio of seasonings with his years of cooking skills. Seeing that Wang Eru was done, Li Zishuan continued to instruct. "Pour half a pot of wine into it." Yes, that's all." "Well, bring it over and steam the chicken cubes first." After half an hour, the chicken cubes were steamed. Li Zishuan ordered again, "Roll the chicken cubes in the starch." "Okay, go and beat 4 more eggs. Mix them well and add more eggs to the chicken cubes." After a while, Wang Eru was done. "Do you have sesame oil?" Li Zishuan remembered that there should be sesame oil in the Tang Dynasty. "Yes, how much do you want, young master?" "A pot. Half a pot will do." "Ah, so much." "Young master, sesame oil is very expensive." Wang Eru was a little distressed. "It's okay. Go ahead. I don't lack money." Li Zishuan said that he was so poor that he only had money. Wang Eru had no choice but to get the sesame oil. Under Li Zishuan's instructions, he poured the sesame oil into the pot and boiled it. After that, he put the chicken cubes in and fried them until the skin was golden brown. Suddenly, a fragrant and crispy chicken smell filled the kitchen. The other cooks looked over and secretly swallowed their saliva. Wang Eru was also a little dumbfounded. Looking at the golden chicken cubes in front of him, he couldn't believe that it was made by him. Li Zishuan picked up the chopsticks and couldn't wait to pick up a piece. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. The key was that it was neither salty nor bland. The taste was just right. It was not much different from KFC in the future. He happily patted Eru's shoulder and said, "Eru, well done. Manager Lu, Eru's salary will be doubled in the future. Eru, work hard in the future. Miley family will not treat you unfairly. Don't think about changing jobs. I can give you what other families can give you." Li Zishuan valued a talent like Eru very much. After saying that, he ignored Eru's continuous declarations of loyalty and left with the KFC. Passing through the hall on the first floor, the fragrant smell of the fried chicken cubes immediately attracted the attention of all the diners. They all looked at the food plate in Li Zishuan's hand. They all fiercely sniffed and secretly swallowed their saliva. Seeing that Li Zishuan was about to go upstairs, a dark and thin young man stood up and said, "Wait a minute, little brother. What food are you holding in your hand? Why haven't I seen it in the Drunken Immortal restaurant?" Li Zishuan heard this and stopped. He looked at the dark and thin young man and said, "This is KFC. It's a new dish from the Drunken Immortal restaurant. It will be available tomorrow. Today is only a trial. If you want to try it, you could try it tomorrow morning. In a while, I'll ask Manager Lu to add this dish to the restaurant's menu. Perhaps it will increase the restaurant's income." Li Zishuan was inwardly pleased with himself as he thought to himself, "This can be considered as increasing my dad's income." After saying this, Li Zishuan ignored everyone's reaction and quickly went upstairs. His little sister was still waiting for him. Chapter 10. In the private room on the 4th floor, Li Zishuan pushed open the door and entered. Instantly, the gazes of the few people in the room all gathered on him. The smell was really too fragrant, and the appearance was also very good. "Wow, is this the new delicious food that brother made?" It looks delicious. Lana wants to eat. Lana excitedly went forward to take the chicken with her hands. Lisa Schwan quickly pushed Lana's hand away. Go, 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 it's hot. Use chopsticks. Come, Xiao Xiaofu, Sanbao tried too. After saying that, he placed a large plate of fried chicken on the table. Lana impatiently picked up a piece of chicken and put it into her mouth. Her small mouth bit on the fragrant and soft chicken, and her cute big eyes narrowed into a line. While eating, she exclaimed, and it's really delicious. Brother, what's the name of this? Brother named this food Kentucky Fried Chicken. Lana, don't speak when you eat. Be careful not to choke. After saying that, he dotingly rubbed Lana's little head and said to the other 4 people, don't just stand there. Come and try it. There's so much, Lana can't finish it all by herself. Don't care about so many rules. Follow young master, and you will have meat to eat. Xiao He, Ah Fu, and Sanbao impatiently picked up a piece of chicken and began to wolf it down. Only Xiao, she was more reserved, and she ate in small bites. This little servant girl had always been more gentle and quiet, but from her slightly raised lips, it could be seen that she was eating happily. Sob, sob. Young master, this is the most delicious thing that Sanbao has ever eaten in her life. This chicken is really too delicious. The uncultured Sanbao suddenly cried while eating. Then why are you crying? If it's delicious, eat it. No one is stopping you. Lisa Schwan was rather speechless. Eating a piece of fried chicken could actually make someone cry. Young master, but Sanbao can't eat anymore. Xiaohe and Ah Fu at the side nodded with a bitter face. In fact, this was also difficult for the 3 of them. As servants, it was rare for someone to bring them to such a high-end restaurant for a feast, and the young master didn't dislike them and let them eat together. The food in this restaurant might not be considered delicious in the eyes of Lan and Lisa Schwan, but in the eyes of these people, it was a delicacy. Therefore, when Lisa Schwan and Lan put down their chopsticks and did not want to eat anymore, they opened their stomachs and ate boldly. When Lisa Schwan came back from the kitchen, more than a dozen dishes on the table had basically been finished. Now, facing the even more delicious fried chicken, they really wanted to cry, but had no tears. Lisa Schwan looked at the dozen or so empty plates in front of him and understood what was going on. Oh, that's a pity. Such a delicious thing is unique in the Great Tang. Lan, a little she, since they can't eat it, let's destroy it, haha. Lana's face was also filled with joy. Fortunately, she didn't eat too much just now. She didn't have time to talk and just kept eating. Xiao He and the other 2 looked at the tempting chicken and drooled. Although they were full, they still couldn't bear to part with such delicious food. The 3 of them resolutely attacked the fried chicken. With such delicious food, it was worth it even if they were stuffed to death. Sanbao thought so tragically. After a while, the 6 of them really couldn't eat anymore, but there were still 5 pieces of chicken left on the plate. At this moment, a voice came from the door. Little brother, since you can't eat anymore, why don't you give the rest to me? Lisa Schwan turned his head and saw that it was the dark and thin man he met at the drunken, immortal restaurant. Although his clothes weren't gorgeous, he had an intimidating aura. Lisa Schwan didn't dare to underestimate him and cupped his hands. Old brother, if you really want to eat, why don't you wait until tomorrow and let old brother eat the leftovers? This little brother is truly lacking in manners. It's fine, it's fine. Old Chung doesn't care about these things. Oh, this one is Chung Chumo. How should I address you, little brother? Chung Chumo repeatedly waved his hands to show that he didn't care. In truth, he didn't want to thicken his skin and come here. He was the eldest son of the Chung clan, so how could he be so shameless? But after smelling the fragrance of the fried chicken, he felt like his heart was being scratched by 100 claws. Looking at the plate in front of him, he found it tasteless. So this fellow was Chung Chumo, the son of the demon king of chaos, Chung Yaojin. He couldn't offend him. Lisa Schwan was inwardly alarmed and hurriedly cupped his hands. This little brother is Lisa Schwan. This is my little sister, Li Zealand. Since Brother Chung doesn't mind, then sit down and eat together. It's truly lacking in manners to let Brother Chung eat this today. Tomorrow, I'll set up another banquet and treat Brother Chung to a good meal. How about it? Hearing this, Chung Chumo grinned and heavily patted Li Zishuan's shoulder. Haha, Brother Li is straightforward. Old Chung, will definitely take you as a brother. Hey, little sister Lan, is really beautiful. Today, Brother Chung didn't bring a gift. I'll make it up to Lan tomorrow. After saying this, he found a seat and sat down. He laughed and said, Haha, just now you were imitating those literati words. It was so sour. Li Zishuan was speechless. No wonder he felt that the style was wrong. How could Chung Yaojin's son be so scholarly? After being praised by Chung Chumo, Lan shyly hugged Li Zishuan's arm and lowered her head, not saying a word. Chung Chumo saw that Li Zishuan was still unperturbed after being patted twice, and he was a little surprised. His 2 pats just now had the intention to test Li Zishuan, so he used 30% of his strength. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand it, so he praised, Brother Li's skills are not bad. Li Zishuan smiled slightly. I know a little about martial arts. Brother Chung seems to be a straightforward person. Quickly sit down and eat together. At this moment, Chung Chumo remembered the purpose of coming over. He immediately shifted his target to the golden crispy fried chicken. He didn't hold back and immediately put a piece of chicken into his mouth. After chewing twice and tasting the flavor, he immediately swallowed it in big mouthfuls like a cow chewing on peonies. He even gave a thumbs up and praised. This is really a delicacy. I've eaten so much food for so many years for nothing. Not long after, the pieces of fried chicken were completely devoured. Chung Chumo obviously wanted more and said, It's really delicious. This is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my life. Then he asked doubtfully, Brother Li, why did the Drunken Immortal restaurant let you taste the new food they released today? After eating the delicacy of his dreams, this guy's intelligence finally returned to normal, and he thought of the crux of the problem. Li Zishuan smiled and said, I won't hide it from Brother Chung. This Drunken Immortal restaurant is my father's business. Today, this little brother suddenly had an idea and taught the chef to make this new food. I wanted to try it and see if it was delicious. Oh, so that's how it is. Brother, next time you make a new food, don't forget about me, haha. Chung Chumo patted Li Zishuan and said. At this moment, shopkeeper Lu came in and cupped his hands towards Li Zishuan. Young master, this old man just tasted the chicken. It's really a delicacy. I just don't know if young master can sell this chicken in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Old Lu looked at Li Zishuan with a hopeful expression. When Li Zishuan left, he impatiently asked Wang Eru to make some fried chicken for him. After tasting it, he almost swallowed his tongue. He had eaten many delicacies over the years, but he had never eaten anything that could be compared to this fried chicken. Thus, old Lu thought that if this chicken was sold in the Drunken Immortal restaurant, it would definitely cause a great sensation. Thus, he eagerly ran over and asked for Li Zishuan's opinion. Yes, Uncle Lu, I was just about to talk to you about this matter. Tomorrow, you can put this KFC on the restaurant's menu. There will be a limit of 200 servings per day. It's first come, first served. Yes, young master is wise. Old Lu had been doing business for many years. He immediately understood Li Zishuan's intentions, and his face was full of admiration. Then he asked, Young master, how much is the price of this chicken? Li Zishuan thought for a moment and asked, Uncle Lu, do you have a rough estimate of the cost of each serving? Only then did shopkeeper Lu notice Chung Chumo in the room. He hesitated for a moment. Li Zishuan waved his hand and said, Don't worry. This is my brother. If he comes to the Drunken Immortal restaurant in the future, Uncle Lu, you must treat him well. Chung Chumo was touched. Shopkeeper Lu then said, Young master, the process of making this chicken is not difficult. The main problem is that the sesame oil used is quite expensive. The cost of each serving is about 200 copper coins. Well, then let's set the price as usual. Don't set it too high. I want all the people in Chong and City to be able to eat this delicacy. Ha! Everyone in the room was speechless. A serving of this chicken was not expensive. Do you think all the people in Chong and City are as rich as you? Shopkeeper Lu thought carefully. Such a delicacy could be eaten with money. It was indeed not expensive. He happily flattered. Young master is so benevolent. But why is this dish called chicken nibbled? It's so strange. He muttered in his heart. Why does this chicken need to be nibbled? Can't it just bite it with its mouth? Lisa Schwan also knew that the ancient people would find the name Kentucky Fried Chicken strange, but he did not expect old Lou to think so far. He said, Kentucky Fried Chicken is quite good. Let's use this name. Well, we must respect the originality. What else could shopkeeper Lou say? He could only express his agreement and then leave. In the room, he chatted with Chung Chumo again. Feeling that it was time to leave, he asked Lana, do you still want to go to She City? Lana rubbed her swollen belly and shook her head bitterly. She said, Brother, let's wait a little longer. I'm so full that I can't walk. Hearing this, except for him and Chung Chumo, everyone in the room nodded in agreement. Lisa Schwan felt quite funny. Well, then let's wait a little longer. Hearing this, Lana rolled her eyes and went forward to hug Lisa Schwan's hand. Brother, you haven't finished the story you told this morning. Why don't you tell Lana now? Lisa Schwan was a little reluctant. He only had a little stock in his stomach, and he had already told so much in the morning. At this rate, it would not be long before it was all gone. But seeing the hopeful faces of Lon and the maidservants, he could not bear to not tell them. Well, then let's talk for a while. Last time, when the great sage equaling heaven wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, he was locked in the 8 trigrams furnace by Taishang Laojun. He saw Wukong jumping around in the furnace and accidentally jumped to the position of the Sun Palace. There was only smoke and no fire, so the smell was very strong. He bent down and squatted inside. After 49 days, Taishang Laojun gave the order to open the furnace door. Suddenly, Wukong heard a sound from the top of the furnace. He looked up and saw a ray of light. He used all his strength to jump out of the furnace, kick down the furnace, turn around, and ran. Everyone quieted down and listened attentively. Although Chung Chumo did not hear the first 3 times, just listening to the latter part was quite interesting. Soon, he was conquered by this unconstrained story. Tang Sanzang saw that he already knew his mistake, so he stopped talking. Wukong's head immediately stopped hurting. He thought that this incantation must have been taught by Guanyin Bodhisattva, so he clamored to go to the South Sea to find Guanyin Bodhisattva to settle the score. Tang Sanzang said, since she can teach me this band-tightening incantation, she must also know how to chant the incantation. Wukong took a deep breath and stopped messing around. He swore that he would listen to his master in the future and protect Tang Sanzang in his journey to the west. All right, that's all for today. After telling them 2 more chapters of Journey to the West, Lisa Schwan saw that it was getting late. He guessed that Lon and the others should be able to walk, so he stopped talking. Everyone had a look of pity on their faces. After bidding farewell to Ching Chumo and making an appointment to meet again tomorrow, Lisa Schwan left the drunken immortal restaurant with Lon and the others. As for the money for the meal, Lisa Schwan chuckled. Did it cost money to eat in his restaurant? Chapter 11. Young master, look over there. Isn't that old master? Xiaoyi pointed at a nearby shop. That's Daddy. That's Daddy. Big brother, let's go see Daddy. Lon glanced in that direction and immediately grabbed Lisa Schwan's hand as she cheered. Actually, after he finished speaking, Lisa Schwan saw that the person was his father. The shop had a signboard with the words Li Jiqing Clothing Shop written on it. His father was talking to a middle-aged scholar with his back facing them. Seeing that, Lon wanted to look for his father. Lisa Schwan could only let her pull him in that direction. Lisa Schwan was now completely obedient to his younger sister. When the group of people was about to reach the clothing shop, Lon let go of Lisa Schwan's hand and ran towards Li Jingma. Daddy, Lon is here to see you. The little girl was bouncing around like a beautiful butterfly. Hearing the sound behind him, Li Jingma hurriedly turned around and saw his daughter bouncing over. When Li Jingma was talking to the middle-aged scholar, his face was originally very serious. However, when he saw his daughter, his face instantly melted and a smile blossomed on his old face. Worried that his beloved daughter would fall, he quickly went forward and held Lon small hand. Bending down, He patted Lan Er's head and asked worriedly, Lan, why did you come here alone? Lan Er came with Big Brother. After saying that, she pointed at Li Zixuan, who had just entered the door. Only then did Li Jingma see Li Zixuan and his group. His heart was slightly relieved, thinking about how he had been pinched by his wife this morning because he had said a few words about his son in front of his wife. Even now, the soft flesh on his waist was still faintly aching. He couldn't help but want to rebuke this brat. Oh, Xianer, you're up so early? Why don't you sleep more? When Li Zixuan saw Li Jingma's heartfelt love for Lan Er, he was still sighing at how warm this family's atmosphere was. However, when he heard his old man's sarcastic words, he couldn't help but look outside the door. Seeing that the sun was shining brightly outside, it was almost 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in modern times, he couldn't help but feel speechless. He didn't expect to be scolded by his old man for sleeping in the morning. Naturally, he didn't know that his father had been pinched by his mother this morning because he had slept in. Li Zixuan coughed dryly, wanting to change the topic as soon as possible. Father, what are you doing here today? Do you want to buy clothes for your mother? When he saw that this shop was a ready-made clothing store, he thought that his father was here to buy clothes for his mother. He didn't expect his father to be so affectionate towards his mother. Hee. Brat, this is my family shop. Don't need to buy anything here. When Li Jingma heard Li Zixuan's teasing words, he knew that this brat was up to no good, so he said angrily. Lan Er, Xiao He, and Xiao Shi at the side couldn't help but laugh. Ah Fu and San Bao didn't dare to be too presumptuous, so they lowered their heads to hold back their laughter while looking at the ants on the ground. Li Zixuan was even more embarrassed. He quickly said, Then why did father come here today? After scolding his son, Li Jingma's mood improved a little. When he heard that, he said, Father came to Shi City today to check the accounts of our family's shops. This is the last shop. You guys wait at the side first. Once I'm done, we'll go home together. Although Li Zixuan wasn't willing to wait, he didn't want to provoke his father now, so he quickly agreed. At this moment, the middle-aged scholar walked over with the account book and said to Li Jingma, Brother Li, I've already checked the accounts of this shop. Brother Li, this Su has just finished checking the accounts of this clothing store, but there's still something that doesn't match up. As for where exactly it doesn't match up, this foolish brother really can't find out. I'm ashamed. When Li Zixuan heard this person call his father Brother Li, he was a little surprised. He thought that this person was the bookkeeper of the shop. Li Zixuan then introduced him to Li Zixuan. This is Mr. Su Hongji. He's an old friend that I made when I traveled to Chang and in my early years. Mr. Su studied under Dr. Liu of the Imperial College. He's a real master of mathematics. You have to learn from Mr. Su. I also invited him to help me check the accounts today. When he heard that it was his father's good friend, Li Zixuan also gave his father some face. He quickly cupped his hands and bowed, looking as if he had been looking forward to meeting him for a long time. Hello, Mr. Su. I've admired Mr. Su's talent for a long time. Mr. Su smiled reservedly and said, You flatter me. However, his expression clearly showed that he enjoyed Li Zixuan's flattery. Scholars were always somewhat arrogant. After seeing that his son and Mr. Su had finished greeting each other, Li Jingmo returned to the topic at hand. He frowned and said to Su Hongji, Even Mr. Su can't find out where the problem is. What should we do? Su Hongji was a little ashamed at this moment. His old friend trusted him, but he had failed him. He explained, The person who made the accounts is also a master of mathematics. I have little talent and knowledge. It's really difficult for me to find the loophole in the accounts in such a short time. I've really failed Brother Li. I'm ashamed. When he heard this, Li Jingma hurriedly said, Sir, please don't blame yourself. It's all that old thing's fault for making fake accounts. After saying this, he angrily said to the middle-aged man in gray standing by the door, Wang Zhenkuan, how dare you? This old man handed this shop over to you to manage, but you falsified the accounts to fool this old man. Master, I've been wronged. I've been wronged. How could I dare to deceive you? When the middle-aged man in gray heard this, he immediately bent over and complained tearfully. Li Jingma clearly knew that there was a problem with the accounts, but he couldn't find any evidence. Since the other party refused to admit it, he couldn't beat him into a confession. Li Jingma was very depressed. "Father, let me take a look at the accounts." At this moment, Li Zishuan suddenly came forward and said his father could make up a few things in private, but he couldn't stand others maliciously deceiving his father. Li Zishuan still respected and loved his father very much. Seeing that the old man next to him wanted to use this number game to fool his father, Li Zishuan couldn't help but sneer in his heart. "Humph, you dare to play math with me? I'll let you know why the flowers are so red today." When he heard that his son wanted to help him, although Li Jingma was touched, he couldn't help but frown. "Xian don't mess around. What do you know about mathematics?" Even Mr. Su couldn't find a problem with the accounts. How could his son, who had never gone to school, do it? "Father, Master has not only taught me martial arts for the past 8 years, but he has also taught me arithmetic and the art of investigation. Master is very knowledgeable and can be considered a master in many aspects. Father, please let me try." Li Zishuan tried to convince his father. Fortunately, his master was considered an expert. Ordinary people rarely came into contact with him, so no one knew what his master was capable of. Li Jingma couldn't help but hesitate. "Then Xian you can try." Li Zishuan took the accounts book and walked to the counter at the side. "Xiao Shi, come and grind the ink for this young master." In his previous life, Li Zishuan's father was only a farmer with a junior high school diploma, but his calligraphy was very good. When he was young, all the couplets at home were written by his father. Li Zishuan also asked his father who taught him. His father said that Li Zishuan's grandfather taught him when he was young. Therefore, although Li Zishuan didn't attend any calligraphy classes when he was young, under his father's urging, he still practiced calligraphy for a few years. The words he wrote were still acceptable. When Wang Zhengquan saw that Li Zishuan was going to check the accounts, he lowered his head. A trace of ridicule flashed in his eyes as he sneered in his heart. "Humph, this little brat is overestimating himself. This old man has been doing accounting for so many years. How could you possibly find out?" At this time, Su Hongji also walked over with interest. Although he didn't believe that this young man's mathematical ability was better than his, this young man was his good friend's son. He could give him some pointers and treat it as helping a younger generation. Chapter 12. The sun was setting in the west. In less than an hour, the gongs and drums would sound, and the shops would be closed. The customers would have to go home. Chang'an City had a very strict curfew. The peddlers outside shouted even louder. They wanted to sell more goods in the last hour. Li Jiqing's clothing store was quiet. Su Hongji stood beside Li Zishuan and watched Li Zishuan write and draw. He drew some horizontal and vertical lines on the paper, and these horizontal and vertical lines formed a grid. The daily expenses and income were separately listed in the grid and categorized. Finally, a comprehensive calculation was done. Su Hongji praised in his heart. This accounting method was unprecedented. But what were those tadpole-like words? Su Hongji, who wanted to help the younger generation, looked at the Arabic numerals in front of him. He wanted to ask the young man, but when he saw Li Zishuan writing and drawing seriously, he resisted the urge to ask. In less than a quarter of an hour, Li Zishuan exhaled deeply. He stood up and said to Li Jingma, all right, father, I found out what's wrong with the accounts." Su Hongji was shocked. He had calculated for more than 2 hours and still couldn't figure it out. But this young man found the problem in less than a quarter of an hour. Su Hongji suspected that the young man was fooling him. Although he had never seen this accounting method before, and it looked very clever, it was impossible for him to calculate so many numbers in such a short time. Of course, he didn't know that these simple operations were a piece of cake for Li Zishuan, who was always bombarded with power series calculus and even more complicated matrix convolution operations. Wang Zhengquan panicked when he heard this, but then he sneered inwardly. In less than a quarter of an hour, he found the problem with his accounts. Who was he trying to fool? Li Jingma also couldn't believe it. He hesitated and said, "Xian, are you serious?" Li Zishuan took the report and walked to Li Jingma. He nodded and said, "Of course." Li Zishuan then turned his head to look at Wang Zhengquan. Although Wang Zhengquan's face was filled with fear, the mockery in the corner of his eyes was still caught by Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan sneered in his heart. "Umph, old man, if you still don't believe me, I'll expose your crimes today and put you in jail." Li Zixuan didn't waste any time. He took the financial report and said to Wang Zhengquan coldly, "Wang Zhengquan, on the 20th of the first month of this year, the clothing store was short of 16 strings of cash, 3 fun. On the 25th of the first month, it was short of 9 strings of cash, 9 fun. On the 5th of the second month, it was short of 8 strings of cash, 5 fun. On the 20th of the third month, which was yesterday, it was short of 13 strings of cash, 4 fun. In less than 3 months, Wang Zhengquan, you secretly embezzled money 26 times, totaling 280 strings of cash, 6 fun. Do you admit to your crimes?" Li Zixuan's voice was like thunder. Every sentence was shocking. Lana looked at her brother with admiration. Although she didn't understand the twists and turns between adults, she felt that her brother was just right. He was so powerful. Xiao He and Xiao Shi's eyes were also full of splendor. In their hearts, they were praising their young master for his handsome appearance and excellent martial arts skills. Now, he even knew arithmetic and was better than that student from the Imperial College. He was simply a master of both the pen and the sword. The 2 young maidservants were now a little infatuated. However, Wang Zhengquan was not in such a good mood right now. As Li Zixuan reported the accounts one by one, even though it was still spring, his sweat could not help but drip down. The ridicule in his eyes was no longer there, replaced by endless fear. When Li Zixuan finished, his back was completely wet and his legs were trembling. He couldn't help but kneel down in front of Li Jingma and cry, "Master, master, I know. Master, master, this old servant knows his mistake. It's all the fault of this old servant's unfilial son. He was swindled into the gambling house and owed a debt. If this old servant didn't help him pay his debts, those people would break his arms and legs. This old servant only has one son. Master, this old servant was blinded by greed. Master, please forgive this old servant this time for the sake of this old servant's conscientious work in the clothing store." At first, Su Hongji didn't believe that Li Zixuan found a problem with the accounts. However, seeing Wang Zhengquan like this, it was obvious that Li Zixuan was right. He was shocked and eager to try. He wanted to grab Li Zixuan and ask him about his accounting method and the strange words. However, it was obviously not the right time. His old friend still had family matters to deal with. Li Jingma saw Wang Zhengquan pleading guilty and was very surprised by his son's arithmetic ability. He was angry at Wang Zhengquan's malicious deceit. If it wasn't for his son's help today, he would have been deceived by this old servant. He was very angry and was about to send this old servant to the officials. However, after hearing Wang Zhengquan's words, he was a little soft-hearted. He also had a son. As a father, he sympathized with Wang Zhengquan's experience. However, since he embezzled so much money, it would be unreasonable to not send him to the officials. Seeing that Li Jingma was a little soft-hearted, Li Zixuan hurriedly said, "Father, don't be soft-hearted. Father, please don't be soft-hearted. Even if he wants to repay his son's debt, he can't harm the interests of the boutique. He can borrow money from you. Taking money without permission is stealing. He falsified the accounts to avoid responsibility. If he really knows that he was wrong, he should have taken the initiative to admit his mistakes when you question him just now. He shouldn't have waited until the irrefutable evidence to admit his mistakes. If the price of committing a crime is so low, then who will abide by the law in the future? A pitiful person must have something hateful. Father, you should send him to the officials. You should choose another honest shopkeeper for the clothing store." Su Hongji nodded repeatedly as he listened. When Li Zixuan finished speaking, he said to Li Jingma, "Brother Jingma, what your son said is true. People like Wang Zhengquan must not be condoned." After that, he looked at Li Zixuan and praised Li Jingma. "Brother Jingma, you have a good son. Your son is knowledgeable in mathematics and is sensible. His reasoning has impressed even your foolish brother. It's true that a hidden dragon in the abyss will turn into a dragon when it encounters the wind and clouds. Li Zixuan hurriedly said that Mr. Su was overpraising him. He didn't deserve such praise. Li Jingma also felt that his son's words were quite reasonable. When he heard his old friend's praise, he was also very happy. However, he couldn't show it in front of others. He said in a reserved manner, "Mr. Su is overpraising. My son is lazy and needs to be polished." Then he ordered, "San Bao Fu, you two send Wang Zhengkuan to the officials. After that, you two can go back to the mansion directly." The two of them accepted the order and went forward to support Wang Zhengkuan, who had fainted from fright. "Father, it's time to go home. Shi City will be closed soon." Seeing that it was getting late, Li Zixuan urged, Then let's go home together." Li Jingma nodded and invited Su Hongji. "Mr. Su, do you want to come to my humble abode for a chat?" Su Hongji hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Not today, but I will definitely pay a visit another day. Your foolish brother still wants to ask your son for advice on how to keep accounts. When the time comes, I hope your son will not be stingy with his teachings." Li Zixuan repeatedly said that he didn't dare. The few of them parted ways in Shi City. Li Jingma hired a carriage. The family of three sat in the carriage and slowly drove towards the Li mansion. On the way, Li Jingma asked, "Xian'er, why did you come to Shi City today? Don't tell me you came here to see your father. I don't believe it." Li Jingma immediately added when he saw that Li Zixuan wanted to flatter him. Li Zixuan really wanted to say that just now, but he didn't expect that his quick-witted father would see through him. He had no choice but to swallow the words that were about to come out of his mouth. After a while, he said, "I saw that my younger sister was rather bored at home, so I accompanied Lan to Shi City today to watch the juggling." "That's right, father. That vaudeville was really good." Big brother even made Lan a chicken that Lan I had never eaten before at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. It was so delicious that Lan-er's stomach became big. In the end, there were still a few pieces of chicken left that we couldn't finish, so they were snatched away by a black-faced big brother. That black-faced big brother ate so much that he almost licked the plate clean. Big brother even asked shopkeeper Lu to take out the chicken to sell tomorrow. Lan immediately chattered like a little sparrow and shared the happy event of the day with her father. Li Zixuan was sweating profusely when he heard this. What was bloated? Was this something that a girl should say? There were also those words about Cheng Chumo's brother Blackface. If Cheng Chumo heard this, would he vomit blood? When Li Jingma heard about the chicken, he didn't think much of it. He only thought that it was his child playing around. He didn't care whether it earned him money or not. However, this name was very strange. The curtain of night slowly fell, and the carriage gradually moved further away. Chapter 13. The next day, once again, Li Zixuan slept until the sun was high in the sky before he woke up. Thinking about how he had woken up too late yesterday and hadn't been able to cultivate, he couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. Previously, he had wanted to cultivate the scripture of supreme mystery to the 9th level. It wouldn't do for him to slack off like this. Thus, he sat cross-legged on the bed and circulated the scripture of supreme mystery a few times. "Brother, brother." Lan-er's soft voice came from outside. Then, he heard light footsteps walking towards the door. Sigh. This girl would wake him up every morning like an alarm clock. Every time, she would barge in without even knocking on the door. This was not a good habit. What if one day he was in the room with Xiao Shi? Wrong. What if one day he was in the room with his future wife, doing something embarrassing, and this girl barged in and ruined it? Li Zixuan would never admit that he had feelings for Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi was still a 13-year-old child. He was definitely not a lullicon. In order to get rid of his sister's bad habit, Li Zixuan decided to punish her a little. In a flash, he hid behind the door. Just then, he heard Lan-er's footsteps walking towards the door. As expected, Lan-er didn't have the habit of knocking on the door. She directly pushed the door open and ran towards the inner room. "Brother, big lazy worm, wake up quickly." Lan-er started shouting before she reached the bed. When she reached the bed, she naturally found that it was empty. Where's brother? Why is he gone? Lon Air was about to turn around and ask Sister Xiao when she suddenly saw a face with white eyes. Naturally, it was Lisa Xuan who was rolling his eyes. A big tongue was sticking out and moving towards her little face. After 3 seconds, an ear-piercing scream suddenly rang through the Li residence west courtyard. Ah! Lon Air screamed in horror. She closed her eyes and used her hands to hit the monster in front of her. She didn't want him to eat her. She prayed that her brother would come quickly to save her. Lon Air, what's wrong? Lisa Xuan was shocked by Lon Er's reaction. He was afraid that Lon Er would be too scared, so he quickly held Lon Er's shoulders with both hands and spoke gently to Lon Er. Lon Er only dared to open her eyes when she heard her brother's voice. When she saw that her brother was really in front of her, she hurriedly ran over and hugged her brother. Big brother, where did you go? Just now, there was a demon with a big tongue who wanted to eat Lon Er. Lisa Xuan didn't expect that he would scare Lon Er to tears. He secretly blamed himself, but now that things had come to this, he could only make the best of it. Otherwise, Lon Er wouldn't let him off easily. Lon Er, did you not knock on the door when you came in? No. Lon Er sobbed. Lon Er, the monster you saw just now is actually a door demon. If you don't knock when you enter the room, he will come out if he's in a bad mood and will only eat young ladies. Lisa Xuan began to trick her. Ah, don't eat Lon. Lon, it doesn't taste good. Lon, we'll knock on the door next time. Lon Er immediately became scared. As long as Lon Er knocks on the door, the demon won't come out. Lon Er, don't cry. Lisa Xuan was very happy to trick children now, but when Lon Er grew up and remembered this incident, he would regret what he did today. But that's a story for the future, so let's not talk about it for now. After coaxing Lon Er, Lisa Xuan went to wash up and eat breakfast. Lisa Xuan woke up late every morning, so Mrs. Li told the kitchen to leave a portion of breakfast for the two of them and Lon Er, who woke up early, to eat together. At this moment, Lisa Xuan was eating breakfast alone in the front hall. He happened to see his parents walk in. His father even had dark circles under his eyes. Father, Mother, why are you here? Let's eat together. Lisa Xuan greeted his parents as he ate. Xian, hurry up and eat. Your father and I have already eaten, Mrs. Li said with a smile as she and Li Jingma sat on the bench next to him. Mrs. Li sat down and looked at Lisa Xuan with a smile. Her face was full of love, and the more she looked at him, the wider her smile became. Lisa Xuan felt his hair stand on end under his mother's gaze. He thought to himself, I haven't done anything bad recently. Mother, if you have something to say, just tell me. I can't eat with you staring at me like that, Lisa Xuan said helplessly. He really couldn't eat with his mother staring at him. It's nothing. I just came to ask if you're short on money recently. Lisa Xuan was stunned. He didn't expect that his parents were here to give him pocket money. Generally, people would ask their parents for pocket money. Which parents would take the initiative to give pocket money to their children? Lisa Xuan was a little touched at this moment. He smiled and said, Mother, I don't lack pocket money recently. Mrs. Li was a little disappointed. Last night, she heard her husband tell her everything about Lisa Xuan at the ready-made clothing store. As a mother, she was happier than anyone else that her son was successful. However, she was a little too happy. She was so excited that she didn't sleep well the whole night. She kept asking Li Jingma about the details. Li Jingma had already told her about it 7 or 8 times, but she still didn't get tired of it. Just like that, Li Jingma was tormented the whole night and woke up with dark circles under his eyes. Hearing that her son had woken up, Mrs. Li hurriedly pulled Li Jingma over. She wanted to give her son some motherly love. After all, her son had been away from home for so many years. As a mother, she was trying her best to treat her son better. Xian, if you're short on money, just tell me. You have to spend money to eat and drink with your friends. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't worry about money. Your father has plenty of money. He earns so much money for you to spend. Don't be afraid of spending money. Mrs. Li got up and patted Lisa Xuan's back. Her face was full of love as she encouraged him to be the prodigal son. Hearing this, Li Jingma almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Just as he was about to object, he was glared at by Mrs. Li. Of course, Li Jingma didn't dare to glare back. He could only glare fiercely at his son. He thought angrily in his heart. Ever since this brat came back, his status in the family had plummeted. Yesterday, he told Mrs. Lee that this brat knew how to do mathematics. After that, this brat's status rose again. Now, he was the ancestor of the family. In the future, he definitely couldn't tell Mrs. Lee about this kind of thing. Li Zixuan was also dumbfounded after hearing his mother's words. What does this mean? Is she telling me to quickly become a prodigal son? Li Zixuan felt that the world was changing too quickly. He couldn't understand it. He muttered to his mother, Thank you, Mother. If I'm short on money, I'll ask Mother for it." Seeing that his father didn't say a word, Li Zixuan thought that his father was unhappy because he was only talking to his mother. He shamelessly struck up a conversation with his father. "Father, why didn't you go to the shop today?" Li Jingma originally planned to go to the shop in Shi City this afternoon to take a look. After all, the clothing shop hadn't found a new shopkeeper yet. He was also a little worried. However, after hearing his son's words, he remembered that Mrs. Li had just said that she earned so much money for Li Zixuan to spend. Suddenly, his motivation to earn money was not as strong as before. His old face darkened as he said in a bad mood, "Why do you need to care? I'm not going today. Cough, I think there's nothing going on at the shop today, so I don't plan to go." It was Li Jingma's father who felt the slight murderous intent in his wife's eyes. He changed his words and used a gentle tone to speak. Li Jingma's father felt that he couldn't stay in the front hall any longer. He hurriedly put his hands behind his back and went back to sleep in the east courtyard. Li Zixuan could see that his father was afraid of his mother. His father's status in this family was really low. He even sympathized with his father. He didn't know what was wrong with his mother today for her to suddenly be so enthusiastic, but he couldn't be bothered to care about it now. Under his mother's loving gaze, he hurriedly finished his breakfast and fled to the backyard to play with Lan. Chapter 14. In the backyard of the Li residence. Li Zixuan was pushing Lan on the swing when Xiao He suddenly ran over and said to Li Zixuan, "Young master, Chung Chumo, who ate with us yesterday, is here. He is waiting for you in the front hall. He said that you owe him a meal and is waiting for you to treat him." Speaking of this, Xiao He couldn't help but laugh. Li Zixuan was stunned. He almost forgot about this. However, Chung Chumo was really interesting. Who would run to someone's house and ask them to treat him? However, Li Zixuan also quite liked this guy's straightforward temperament. At least he was better than those who appeared to be amiable with you on the surface, but stabbed you in the back. This kind of brother was worth having. Li Zixuan brought Lan to the front hall and saw Chung Chumo sitting there casually drinking tea. Hey, this guy really didn't treat himself as an outsider. "Oh, Brother Chonyo, why are you here today?" Li Zixuan pretended to be confused and said. Chung Chumo heard this and stared at Li Zixuan. This guy clearly owed him a meal, and yet he pretended to be confused. He didn't believe that the servant girl didn't say why he came today when she went in to report. He really didn't expect him to be so thick-skinned. Li Zixuan's skin was even thicker than his. He could say in private that Li Zixuan owed him a meal. After all, everyone in Chang and knew that he, Chung Chumo, was a straightforward guy. However, he couldn't say in front of others that he was here to ask them to treat him to a meal, right? Chung Chumo huffed and puffed there for a long time. He didn't know what to say, and his face turned red. Li Zixuan didn't want to tease him anymore and hurriedly said, "Oh, I was just about to invite Brother Ugly Bull to eat KFC at the Drunken Immortal restaurant yesterday. I almost forgot. My bad. Let's go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant now. Today's KFC is limited for others, but for Brother Ugly Bull, you can eat as much as you want." Chung Chumo also knew that Li Zixuan was deliberately teasing him. It was normal for brothers to joke around, so he didn't take it to heart. However, when he heard the last sentence, his eyes suddenly lit up. He instantly felt that this joke was worth it. If possible, he didn't mind Li Zixuan joking with him a few more times. He stepped forward and patted Li Zixuan's shoulder with all his might. He laughed and said, "Brother, you're very kind. Haha, if you ask me, you're good in every way, but you're too polite. However, I old Chang like it. Haha." Li Zixuan was speechless. In his previous life, When he watched the TV series The Legend of the Sui and Tang Heroes, he often heard Chung Chumo call this person Old Chung. He didn't expect that his son also liked to call himself Old Chung. Li Zixuan wondered if Chung Chumo would still dare to call himself Old Chung if Chung Chumo was here. Putting aside these messy thoughts, Li Zixuan brought Lan, and Chung Chumo out of the house. They saw a strong black horse at the door. "Brother Ugly Bull, you came here on a horse." Li Zixuan originally wanted to walk over with everyone, but when he saw that Chung Chumo came here on a horse, he suddenly felt awkward. "Aren't you talking nonsense? My house is so far away from yours. If I didn't ride a horse here, how long would I have to walk?" Chung Chumo said unhappily. The Lu public house was in Huai Lane, which was west of Shi City. It was quite close to Shi City, but it was quite far from the Li public house. It must have been hard for him to come all the way here so early in the morning to have a meal with Li Zixuan. "Sam Bao, do we have a horse in our house?" Li Zixuan had no choice but to ride a horse. Although he didn't ride a horse in his previous life, he was confident that a horse wouldn't be able to do anything to him now that he was highly skilled in martial arts. "Yes, young master. Old master has a few horses in the past. Sam Bao will go get them for you now." Sam Bao quickly went to get the horse for Li Zixuan. After a while, Li Zixuan carried Lan, and rode together with Chung Chumo to Shi City. The Tang Dynasty wasn't like the other dynasties after it, where one could ride a horse in Chang and City. When they arrived at Zuaxian restaurant, Li Zixuan was surprised to see a long line outside. After all, this was only the first day of KFC. What he didn't know was that before they arrived, several groups of people had already ordered KFC at Zuaxian restaurant. After eating it, they were naturally shocked by the deliciousness of the world. However, a serving of KFC was only about 10 pieces of chicken. How could it be enough? They quickly asked the waiter to bring another serving. The waiter could only say with a bitter face that each table was limited to one serving. The entire Zuaxian restaurant was limited to 200 servings a day. This made the people who had just finished their KFC suffer. After eating the delicious fried chicken, they immediately lost their appetite when they looked at the other dishes on the table. However, there were some smart people among them. When they saw that there weren't many people eating at Zuaxian restaurant at this time, they immediately paid the bill and went out to find their attendants. They asked them to go back and find a few more servants. Then, they came in and each took a table and ordered a serving of KFC. Of course, those servants definitely wouldn't be able to eat it. They could only leave it for their old master. This caused Zuaxian restaurant to be full. There was a long line outside. Some passers-by who didn't know what was going on asked around and also joined a line out of curiosity. The line became longer and longer. Shi City was originally a place with a lot of people. With such a long line, it naturally attracted everyone's attention. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100. Just like this, KFC became completely popular on the first day of its launch. Chung Chumo looked at the long line and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He secretly rejoiced that he found Li Zixuan to eat with him. Otherwise, he would also have to painstakingly wait in line. Don't think that just because he was the son of Lu Guogong, he could cut the line as he pleased. It must be known that those who could afford to eat at Zuaxian restaurant were generally rich and respectable. If he went up and cut the line and offended the second generation of the imperial censor, everyone would make a fuss. Naturally, he couldn't avoid being impeached. Although the emperor wouldn't do anything to him for such a small matter, from another point of view, if he would be reprimanded by the emperor for such a small matter, wouldn't it be worth it? Li Zixuan naturally didn't need to wait in line. It didn't make sense for him to have to wait in line when he was going to his own restaurant. Therefore, he directly held Lan Er's hand and pulled the horse along with Chung Chumo as they bypassed the crowd and walked towards Zuaxian restaurant. "Hey, Brother Zixuan." Suddenly, he seemed to hear someone calling him from the line. Li Zixuan quickly turned his head and saw Li Changxian pulling Li Lizzie from the line and walking towards them. Oh, so it's Brother Gao Ming and Sister Lizzie. Brother Gao Ming also came to eat at Zuaxian restaurant? Li Zixuan went forward and greeted. That's right. The two of us saw that Zuaxian restaurant was quite popular in Shi City today. It seemed like they had withdrawn from some new food so we came to join the fun. That's good. If Brother Gao Ming doesn't mind, why don't you come with us? I won't hide it from Brother Gao Ming. Li Zixuan also felt that the second generation of the imperial censor in front of him didn't have any heirs and was worth befriending, so he invited him. However, he didn't notice Choax behind him. When he saw Li Chengxian, his expression changed slightly. That's what I was thinking. Then let's go in together. After Li Chengxian returned to the palace yesterday, he had someone investigate Li Zixuan's background. Naturally, he knew that this restaurant was the property of Li Zixuan's family. When he saw Li Zixuan just now, he was quite happy and decisively gave up on waiting in line for half a day to hitch a ride with Boss Li to go in and have a big meal. Hey, Choax, why are you with Brother Zixuan? Li Chengxian noticed Cheng Chumo at the side and asked with a strange expression. Li Zixuan is a brother that I just met yesterday. He's treating me to a drink today. Cheng Chumo said matter-of-factly. Brother Choax, you know Gao Ming? Li Zixuan asked with some confusion. Yes, because of my father's generation, I know him. Cheng Chumo saw that Li Zixuan didn't seem to know Li Chengxian's true identity. At this moment, it wasn't good for him to point it out, so he could only give a vague answer. Oh, Li Zixuan suddenly understood and said with a no. It wasn't strange that the second generation of the imperial censor knew each other. The group didn't waste any more words and directly entered Zuaishan restaurant. Chapter 15. Shopkeeper Lu also saw Li Zixuan and hurriedly came out to greet him with a smile. Hey, the young boss is here. Seeing Li Zixuan make the KFC so popular today, Boss Lu was naturally happy at the moment. Well, I brought my friend here for dinner. Uncle Lu, are there any seats upstairs? Yes, there are seats on the 4th floor specially reserved for young master. Young master, please come in. Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly responded. At this time, someone in the line outside the door was unhappy. Shopkeeper Lu, why do we all have to line up, but this person directly goes in? Li Zixuan didn't say anything. He crossed his arms and waited to see how old Lu would deal with it. Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly stepped forward and said, Dear guests, this is the young master of our restaurant. Today he is here to check the accounts, not to eat. Please forgive him. Of course, old Lu didn't dare to say that Li Zixuan was here to eat. Everyone in front of him was a big boss. It wouldn't be easy to deal with if he angered everyone. Hearing Shopkeeper Lu's nonsense, Lan and Li Lizzie couldn't help but turn their backs and smile at each other. Everyone knew that Shopkeeper Lu was talking nonsense, who would bring 2 little girls to check the accounts. However, they couldn't say anything. The restaurant was his business. It seemed that there was no need to line up to eat in his own restaurant. Shopkeeper Lu deliberately lied to give face to everyone. The people in the line weren't so unappreciative. When they entered Zuaishan restaurant, Li Zixuan saw that there was a new dish on the hanging plate. It said nibbled chicken. Li Zixuan was a little dumbfounded. Only then did he realize that old Lu had misheard. Forget it. Nibbled chicken is nibbled chicken. It's troublesome to change it again and again. Li Zixuan was too lazy to correct him. After entering a private room on the 4th floor, they all sat down. Li Zixuan waved at Shopkeeper Lu and said, Uncle Lu, give us 10 servings of gnawed chicken, 8 light side dishes, and a pot of good wine. Put the gnawed chicken in a food box, pick a clever servant, and let him secretly bring it up. Li Zixuan knew that Cheng Chumo would definitely drink, so he ordered a pot of wine. He would not drink it himself. He came to the Tang Dynasty because he drank too much. If he drank too much and traveled to the primitive society, that would be terrible. The reason why he asked the servant to secretly bring up the chicken was to prevent the people downstairs from getting angry if they saw it. After all, other people only had 1 serving per table. Why did he have 10 servings per table here? No matter what era it was, making an exception would be hated by others. Hearing this, Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly agreed, and then went downstairs to have people prepare. Not long after, a servant dressed in green walked in with an extra-large food box. The servant opened the food box and put the dishes on the table. He smiled at Li Zixuan and said, Young master, you ordered the gnawed chicken. Young master, this is the chicken you wanted. Because there were too many of them, one plate couldn't fit all of them, so I packed 4 plates for you. I was very careful when I came up, so no one noticed. Well done. I'll ask shopkeeper Liu for a reward later. Li Zishuan praised. In modern times, he was used to not bringing money when he went out, so he didn't have any money on him now. It was not good for him to reward people directly, so he could only be generous. Naturally, the servant left happily. After a few pleasantries, everyone started to eat. It was the first time Li Chengxian and Li Lizzie had eaten a gnawed chicken. Just looking at the appearance made them drool. The two siblings couldn't help but pick up a piece and taste it. After tasting it, Li Chengxian couldn't stop and said that it was delicious. Although Li Lizzie also felt that the gnawed chicken was delicious, she didn't like greasy food. After eating a few pieces, she stopped eating and turned to eat the light side dishes. Although Lana ate a lot yesterday, she obviously didn't get tired of it. Her small mouth was constantly chewing. Li Zishuan had eaten yesterday, so he wasn't so addicted now. After eating a few pieces, he also ate the light side dishes with Li Lizzie. Cheng Chumo didn't know what was polite. When he saw the gnawed chicken on the table, his eyes lit up. He immediately took a plate and put it in front of him, eating happily. He only ate a few pieces yesterday and craved it all night. Now that he had an unlimited supply of food from Li Zishuan, he immediately turned into a glutton. His cheeks were like small motors that kept trembling. Just as Cheng Chumo's mouth was dry from chewing, the servant in green came over with a jar of wine. Cheng Chumo's eyes lit up. He went forward and grabbed the jar of wine. He broke the seal and poured a bowl for himself. He couldn't wait to drink 2 mouthfuls. Then he looked at Li Zishuan and said, "Little Xian, you haven't drunk with me yet. You must drink 2 bowls with me today." This idiot didn't drink with people by cup, but by bowl. He wouldn't drink with this guy even if he was beaten to death. Li Zishuan secretly frowned and quickly refused. "I really can't drink. The martial arts I practice can't touch alcohol. Brother Chonyo, don't force me. You should drink with Gao Ming." Cheng Chumo naturally didn't believe this strange reason. He still insisted on drinking. Lana was unhappy. "Brother Blackface, you can't let brother drink. If brother gets drunk, who will tell Lana stories?" Hearing the story, Li Lizzie's eyes lit up. She quickly agreed. "Brother Chonyo, since brother Xian doesn't drink, don't force brother Xian." Seeing the 2 girls like this, Cheng Chumo couldn't persuade them anymore. He could only say to Li Chengxian, "Gao Ming, drink with me." He didn't dare to call himself brother in front of Li Chengxian like Li Zishuan. Li Chengxian was also quite thirsty from eating fried chicken. Cheng Chumo's words were to his liking, so he agreed. While the 2 of them were drinking, Lana and Li Lizzie were rather bored. Lana said, "Brother, the 2 of them are drinking. Why don't you tell me and Sister Lizzie a story?" The little girl had recently become addicted to listening to stories. However, Lana's listening speed was faster than Li Lizzie's, so it wasn't easy to tell her. "Lana, you've already heard this story for the 5th time. Your big sister Lizzie has only heard it for the 3rd time. Why don't you tell your big sister Lizzie the first 2 chapters you heard yesterday? I want to see if Lana listens to my story seriously." Lana clapped her hands and said, Okay. Sister Lizzie, I'll tell you first." Lana was very happy to be able to tell stories to others. Li Lizzie smiled and said, "Thank you, Sister Lana." After saying that, she also smiled at Li Zishuan. When they were eating, Li Zishuan saw that Li Lizzie's movements were elegant and refined. Now that he saw her generous and decent behavior, he couldn't help but praise in his heart. How is this like a 7 or 8-year-old girl? I don't know which official cultivated such an outstanding girl. She's only 7 or 8 years old, and her temperament and appearance are already so outstanding. I don't know who will be lucky enough to marry such a proud girl when she grows up. Lana excitedly told Li Lizzie the 2 chapters yesterday. When she talked about the passionate parts, she even gesticulated. Her dancing appearance was so cute that Li Lizzie couldn't help but laugh. Li Chengxian was also eavesdropping. He was also very interested in this story. There, he was pulled by Cheng Chumo to play finger-guessing games while listening to Lana's story. Naturally, he lost more than he won when he was multitasking. Cheng Chumo forced him to drink a lot. Cheng Chumo was unbearably thirsty, but he couldn't lose even if he wanted to. Seeing that all the wine had entered Li Chengqian's stomach, he said angrily, "I'm not going. I'm not going. You go listen to the story." He snatched the wine jug and poured himself a drink. Although he felt that the story was interesting, it was still lacking compared to the chicken and wine in front of him. Moreover, he had already heard the 2 chapters yesterday. Li Chengqian naturally couldn't ask for more. He listened to the story attentively from the side. After a while, Lan'er finished and hurriedly ran over to ask for credit. "Brother, was Lan'er's story good?" Li Zishuan was also a little surprised. He didn't expect Lan'er to be able to recite it so well after listening to it once. Her memory was pretty good. He praised, "Lan'er's story is really good. It's almost the same as Brother's." At this moment, a black-clothed, brawny man hurriedly came in and whispered a few words in Li Chengqian's ear. Li Chengqian stood up and said, "Brother Zishuan, I have some family matters to attend to, so I'll go back first. In the future, I'll drink and chat with Brother Zishuan. Thank you for your hospitality today. It's fine. Gao Ming, if you have something to attend to, go do it. Brother Zishuan, can I bring back a portion of the chicken for my father to try? My father's appetite hasn't been good recently." Li Chengqian was a little embarrassed. Wasn't this a typical case of not being able to eat the consequences? Li Lizzie also felt that her brother was a little embarrassing. Her tender face was slightly red. Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Of course. Gao Ming, since you have urgent matters to attend to, why don't you go back first and let your attendant stay? I'll have shopkeeper Lu prepare 2 portions of the chicken for your guard to bring back. How about it?" Li Chengqian hurriedly said, gratefully, "Brother Zishuan is still the most considerate. Thank you very much. Wu San, did you hear that? Go to shopkeeper Lu and get the chicken. Go back later." The black-clothed, brawny man bowed and said, "Yes." Li Lizzie stood up and smiled at Li Zishuan. She politely said, "Brother Xian, goodbye. Lizzie will listen to Brother Xian's story again next time." Li Zishuan was also very happy to have such a cute lowly fan. He hurriedly replied, "Okay, goodbye, Lizzie's sister." Li Chengqian then pulled his sister out of the private room. Chapter 16. In a private room on the 4th floor of the drunken, immortal restaurant. Seeing the Li siblings leave, Cheng Chumo hesitated for a moment before nudging Li Zishuan's arm. "Little Xian, do you really not know the identity of this Li Gaoming?" Li Zishuan shook his head, somewhat hesitantly replying, "I don't know. If they don't say, it wouldn't be good for me to take the initiative to ask. However, judging from the temperament of the siblings, they should be from an official's family." Cheng Chumo somewhat admired his observation skills. Leaning over, he whispered, "Not only are they from an official's family. It's not just the families of officials. That Li Gaoming is the current crown prince, and that Li Lizzie is the emperor's most beloved princess Changle." Li Zishuan was stunned. Isn't the current crown prince Li Chengqian? Are you stupid? Crown Prince Li Chengqian's calligraphy is brilliant. Don't tell me you don't even know this? Cheng Chumo was speechless. Yeah, he was actually being looked down upon by this uncultured fool. If he wanted to blame someone, he could only blame himself for choosing engineering. He only knew that the crown prince was called Li Chengqian. Who knew what his calligraphy was? At this moment, Cheng Chumo said somewhat worriedly, "Little Xian, you have to think carefully. The matters of the imperial family are not as simple as you think. The waters are deep. It's best if you don't get too close to the crown prince. My father has told me to stay away from the crown prince and the Prince of Wei. His attitude towards them is to not offend them, nor to cling to them. Moreover, His Imperial Majesty is still in the prime of his life. If you get too close to the crown prince, the Prince of Wei, and the others, it will not be beneficial to your future." Li Zishuan was somewhat moved. For Cheng Chumo to say these words to him, it proved that he truly regarded him as a friend, a brother. Smiling, he patted Li Zishuan's shoulder and said, "Brother Chumo, don't worry. Don't worry, Brother Chonyo. I've been cultivating in the mountains with Master for 8 years, and I've long since become indifferent to these fights for fame and fortune. Leaving the mountain this time, I have no intention of pursuing an official career. I only want to stay at home and be a rich man, accompany father and mother, tease Lana, or drink with Brother Chonyo. If I'm tired of staying at home, then I'll go to the pugilistic world and find a confidant. Isn't life like this wonderful? Chung Chumo also admired his open-mindedness, but he couldn't live such a life. He was the kind of person who couldn't stay idle. Letting him stay at home was worse than killing him. Little Xian, since you already know how powerful it is, then I won't say any more. Li Zixuan nodded. Thank you for your reminder, Brother Chonyo. If the Crown Prince continues to treat me as a friend like this, I'll naturally still treat him as a brother. If he feigns civility and wants to use me to achieve his own goals, then there's no point in having such a friend. Although Li Zixuan knew that in history, Li Chengxian had a violent temperament and was excessively extravagant, resulting in his rebellion being defeated, at the very least, the current Li Chengxian was still a humble and courteous youth. Although he didn't know why he became like this, perhaps he could be saved. Hearing the conversation between the two, Lana opened her mouth in surprise. Wow, so big sister Li Ji is a princess. Brother, isn't the position of princess very important? Li Zixuan patted Lan Er's head in amusement. The position of princess is indeed very important. In the entire Great Tang, only His Majesty the Emperor has such a position. Does Lan Er also want to be a princess? Lan Er frowned and thought for a moment before answering. Lan doesn't want to be a princess. Lan only wants to be brother's little sister. Li Zixuan laughed heartily. He didn't dote on this girl for nothing. Inside Taiji Palace, Li Shimin was currently flipping through a memorial. After reading the memorial, the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. At this moment, a beautiful woman dressed in palace attire, carrying a bowl of lotus seed porridge, gracefully walked over to Li Shimin's side. Seeing that Li Shimin was in a good mood, she smiled and asked, "Why is your Imperial Majesty so happy?" Li Er put his arm around the beautiful woman in palace attire and handed the memorial in his hand to her. He smiled and said, "This is a report of victory sent by Jingda from Yuzhou. May Guanyin take a look. In the first month of this year, Luo rebelled in Yuzhou. Your brother and Jingda suppressed the rebellion in less than 2 months. With these capable ministers and generals, why should we worry about Great Tang's prosperity?" Seeing that Li Er was so happy, Emperor Zhongsun also smiled and said, "That's all because Erlang has a good eye for people. Erlang, you've been reading memorials for so long. It's time for you to rest. This is the lotus seed porridge that your imperial concubine made. Erlang, have a taste." At this moment, an eunuch hastily entered and bowed to Li Er and the Empress. "Your Imperial Majesty, Imperial Concubine, His Imperial Highness the Crown Prince, and Princess Changle are waiting outside," Li Er curiously said to the Empress. "These 2 children have been hard to find in the palace recently. Today, they have finally come to see us." He then said to the eunuch, "Quickly let them in." Not long after, Li Chengxian and his sister entered the palace. Bowing to Li Er and the Empress, they said, "This son pays respects to Imperial Father and Imperial Mother. Dispense with the formalities. Changle, quickly come to Imperial Father and Imperial Mother." Li Er beckoned to Changle. He doted on this eldest daughter of his. When Changle was born, Li Er viewed her as the apple of his eye and named her Li Lizzie. The history books were full of praise for Princess Changle, praising her as bright as the night moon illuminating the jasper forest, rotten as the morning glow reflecting the pearls. At this moment, Li Er saw the box of food in Li Chengxian's hand. Curious, he asked, "Chengxian, what is that in your hand?" Li Chengxian promptly bowed and replying to Imperial Father, "This is a delicacy that this son and younger sister Changle encountered at a restaurant in the Western Market today. The price of this item is the same as usual, with a limit of 200 servings per day. However, many people are scrambling for it like a flock of ducks." By the time this son arrived, there was already a very long line in front of the restaurant. This son asked a friend that this son had just met to obtain 2 servings. Seeing that Imperial Father's appetite has not been good recently, this son wanted to bring it over for Imperial Father and Imperial Mother to try. Lier and Zhang Sun glanced at each other, smiling with gratification. Lier said, "It is rare for Changqian to show such filial piety. Hearing you say this, we are rather curious. What is so miraculous about this delicacy? Despite the price being so expensive, it still causes so many people to scramble for it. Zhao Song, go and bring out the box of food." An old eunuch behind Lier bowed and accepted the order. At this moment, Changle, who was beside Empress Zhongsun, also smiled at Lier and said, "Imperial Father, the method of cooking this food is indeed rather peculiar. This son has also tasted it. It is indeed delicious." This son also saw Chang Chumo of Duke Lu's family in the restaurant. He ate 16 servings by himself. Finished speaking, he couldn't help but cover his mouth and chuckle. Changle naturally did not know that not long after the two of them left, Chang Chumo had almost eaten 20 servings. At this moment, Zhao Song brought out the box of food and was about to test it for poison when Li Er waved his hand to stop him. "No need. Would Changqian harm us?" Finished speaking, he looked at the box of food. Inside, he saw pieces of golden and tender chicken lined up on a plate. Bursts of crispy chicken aroma wafted into his nostrils. Lier couldn't help but feel his appetite increase. He picked up a piece of chicken and sent it into his mouth. The charred aroma of egg and starch mixed with the freshness of the chicken. Lier couldn't help but smack his lips in praise. This thing is indeed delicious. Guanyin maid, you should also try it. The crispness of this fried chicken will be paired with the Empress's lotus seed porridge in a moment. It doesn't appear greasy. It really whetted our appetite. Seeing that the Emperor finally had an appetite, Zhang Sun was also happy. She picked up a piece and tasted it. The taste was indeed rather peculiar. In the future, she could have the royal chef try it and see if they could make it. Zhang Sun was not a greedy person. After eating 2 pieces, she put down her chopsticks. It was rare for Li Er to have an appetite, so she left the rest for the Emperor to eat. The Empress turned her head and looked at Li Changqian. "Changqian, what is the name of this delicacy?" "Imperial Mother, this food is called nibbled chicken." Li Er interjected as he ate. "Nibbled chicken? This name is very strange and rather inelegant." After eating the piece of chicken in his hand, Li Er asked again, "Changqian, where have you and Changle been these 2 days?" Li Changqian hurriedly replied, "Imperial Father, I saw Sister Changle in the palace a few days ago. Furthermore, Changle's health has always been poor. I was worried that she would fall ill from boredom, so I took Changle out of the palace to relax in Chang'an." Hearing this, a rare trace of warmth appeared on Li Er's face. After the Xuanwu Gate incident last year, although he had taken the throne, he had also lost a lot at the same time. There was no familial love in the royal family, but he really needed it. He was most worried that his children would live under the shadow of the Xuanwu Gate incident. Now that he saw his eldest son's heartfelt care for his eldest daughter, he was very gratified. Li Er said to Li Changqian, "Yes, Changqian, as the elder brother, you should indeed be more concerned about your younger siblings. However, you must not neglect your studies. You are the future crown prince, so you should prioritize your studies. You can leave first. Changle will stay with Imperial Father." Li Changqian hurriedly excused himself from Li Er and the Empress. Zhang Sun smiled and nodded. She had seen the warmth in Li Er's eyes just now. She and Li Er were husband and wife and had helped each other in difficult times for 15 years. They had long known each other deeply. She was also quite satisfied with what her son had done this time. "Changle, has your qi flared up recently? Why did Changqian say that you were depressed a few days ago?" Li Er asked with some worry. Changle and Zhang Sun had always had qi. The imperial physicians in the palace were all helpless. A few days ago, they had asked Sun Simiao to enter the palace to treat the two. Sun Simiao had also said that he could only help the Empress and Princess recuperate, but could not cure them completely. The two's qi had now become Li Er's mental illness. "Imperial Father, my qi has not flared up recently. However, a few days ago, I did feel that my chest was stuffy. These 2 days Brother Crown Prince has taken me out of the palace. I have seen many interesting things, and my mood has improved a lot. Imperial Father, don't worry. Thinking of the story she had heard outside the palace these 2 days, the delicious food she had eaten, and the interesting siblings she had seen, the corners of Changle's mouth could not help but curl up slightly. Lier saw that his daughter was in a good mood and was truly happy. He said, "Changle, then tell Imperial Father what interesting things you have seen these 2 days. It just so happens that your Imperial Mother is here today. Changle, you haven't chatted with Imperial Father and Imperial Mother for a long time." "Yes, Imperial Father." Chapter 17. Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Private room on the 4th floor. There were already a dozen plates in front of Chung Chimo. Lan and Li Zixuan had already put down their chopsticks and were watching Chung Chimo eat and drink to his heart's content. According to Drunken Immortal Restaurant's portions, 10 chicken pieces were counted as a portion. Li Zixuan estimated that Chung Chimo alone had eaten 18 portions. Without Li Chengxian and Li Lizzie by his side, he had even less scruples and ate as if he was flying. Lanner asked curiously, "Big Brother Blackface, you've eaten so much. Why hasn't your stomach gotten bigger? Where did you put those gnawed chickens?" Puffed. Ching Chumo had just taken a sip of wine, but upon hearing this, he choked and spat it out. Li Zixuan's figure flashed, pulling Lanner to avoid this fellow's saliva. "Luckily, I'm agile." Li Zixuan secretly rejoiced. Chung Chumo felt wronged. "Lanner, you can't say that about Big Brother Chonyo. Your Big Brother Chonyo can eat so much and still not get fat. Isn't that also a skill?" "Big Brother Chonyo, you're really thick-skinned." Lanner giggled. Chung Chumo finally couldn't eat anymore after eating 20 portions. The 3 of them laughed and joked for a while before leaving Drunken Immortal Restaurant, each returning to their own homes. When they left, shopkeeper Lu looked bitterly at Chung Chumo. This fellow had eaten 20 portions of gnawed chicken by himself. When he left, he even took away 5 portions, saying that he was taking them back to show filial piety to his father. Drunken Immortal Restaurant only provided 200 portions a day, and this beast alone had taken 25 portions. Shopkeeper Lu wailed in his heart, hoping that the young master wouldn't bring this beast to Drunken Immortal Restaurant to eat next time. Taiji Palace. At this moment, Chang Sun and Changle were no longer present. Lier sat alone on the dragon throne, frowning and deep in thought. The hall was silent. After a long time, Lier's voice rang out in the hall. "Zhao Song, send someone to investigate Li Zixuan's background, especially his activities in the past month. See if he deliberately approached Changqian and Changle." As an emperor, Lier was very careful in everything he did. Of course, if Li Zixuan were here, he would definitely say that Lier had a persecutory delusion. He felt that there were always unruly people who wanted to harm his children. The old eunuch floated out of nowhere and bowed to Lier, saying yes. Then, in a flash, he disappeared again. Silence was restored in the hall. But today, Chang'an City was not quiet. In the afternoon, the popularity of the chicken at Zuaishan restaurant in the West Market had spread through the entire Chang and through word of mouth. Those who had eaten it naturally praised it as a rare delicacy in the world. Those who had not eaten it naturally salivated after hearing the descriptions of those who had eaten it and looked forward to buying a serving to try it the next day. Although one serving would cost a lot, there were many rich people in Chang and City who could afford it. The gnawing chicken finally became famous in Chang, and after a day of being popular, the Zuaishan restaurant's reputation was also thoroughly established. By the time Li Zixuan and Lan arrived home, Li Jima had also heard the news of the Drunken Immortal Restaurant eating the chicken. It was shopkeeper Lu who had sent the news to him. He really hadn't expected that it would cause such a huge commotion in Chang, and then also thoroughly make the name of the Drunken Immortal Restaurant famous. Even more surprising was the profit from the gnawing chicken itself. The price was 5 times the cost. Even if there were only 200 servings a day, the profit from a gnawing chicken alone was 160 strings of cash. This could be considered a huge profit. In the long run, the profit from the gnawing chicken would be an astronomical figure. During dinner, Li Jingma finally could not help but ask Li Zishuan, "Xin'er, how did you come up with that gnawing chicken?" Madame Li also knew that her son had made a new dish called gnawing chicken and that it had become popular throughout Chang'an City. She was also very happy and looked at her son curiously. Can I say that I learned it from Baidu? Of course not. Li Zishuan could only continue to bluff. Father, I've told you before that my master is not only proficient in martial arts, but also in cooking. This gnawing chicken is one of the delicacies I learned from my master. You don't have to make a fuss about it. My master is very knowledgeable, and the disciples he taught are naturally outstanding. It's just that my master's nature is indifferent and does not like to interact with outsiders, so the world does not know of my master's talent. So, father, mother, if your son has any amazing performance in the future, you two don't have to make a fuss about it. Just slowly get used to it. In order to not be questioned by his parents over small matters in the future, Li Zishuan could only throw away his face. Li Jingma unhappily glared at his son, who did not have any sense of shame. Madame Li covered her mouth and laughed. Child, why are you speaking as inappropriately as your father when he was young? Did your master also teach you how to be thick-skinned? Xian'er, mother found that your face is much thicker than when you were young. Father Li's old face darkened. He was innocently implicated again. Li Zishuan was also embarrassed by his mother's teasing. At this moment, Lan'er also jeered. Brother is thick-skinned. Duke Lu's estate. A black-faced man with a face full of beard was eating gnawing chicken and drinking wine in the front hall. He was extremely satisfied. Chonyo, where did you buy this thing? How come I, old Cheng, have never eaten it before? Ching Chumo took credit and said, Father, this is a brother I just made. His restaurant just released a new dish called gnawing chicken. You don't know, but the line in front of the restaurant today was very long. Moreover, it was limited to 200 servings a day. If it was not for my brother, Father, you would not be able to eat such delicacies today. Cheng Yaojin laughed in a rough voice and said, Yes, my Chonyo is filial. However, your brother is too stingy. He only gave me this little. It's not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Later, you have to talk to him properly. How can he be so stingy to his own brother? Next time, ask your brother to send me a plate of gnawing chicken. Chung Chumo was sweating profusely. The emperor only ate 2 servings, and you ate 5 servings alone. Chung Chumo did not expect his father to be even more shameless than him. Chung Yaojin said again, Chonyo, tell your father about your brother. Old Chung is quite interested in the person who can think of this gnawing chicken. Chung Chumo knew that his father wanted to check him out. He was afraid that he would not be careful in making friends. So he told Ching Yaojin about the things that happened in the past 2 days, as well as the information he had gathered in private about Li Zishuan's situation. After a long time, Chung Yaojin nodded and said, Yes, from what you said, this child is a person who values friendship and righteousness. Not bad, not bad. You said that he also knows martial arts? Yes, Father. I heard that he studied martial arts at Mount Longhu for 8 years. His master is Mount Longhu's great elder, spiritual master Ling Su, who is also a great grandmaster expert in the martial arts world. Moreover, I saw that Li Zishuan's lower body was very stable and his steps were vigorous. I'm afraid that his martial arts skills are above mine. Oh? Then invite him to the manor some other day. Old Chung, will exchange a few blows with him. The world is at peace, and there are no more wars to fight. Old Chung, am sick from boredom at home every day. You can ask that Li family boy to come over. This old man will treat it as giving pointers to the younger generation. Haha. When old Chung heard this, he was suddenly very interested in Li Zishuan. At this moment, Chung Chumo could only mourn for his good brother in his heart. Chapter 18. The popularity of the gnawing chicken continued. On the second day, when the Western market opened, many people went straight to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. In less than a quarter of an hour, all the seats in the Drunken Immortal restaurant were taken. Those who couldn't enter the restaurant began to line up outside. Brother Wang, are you also here to eat the chicken? A short youth in white in the line saw that the person in front of him was an acquaintance and began chatting with him. Yes, yesterday, after Chun Eru ate the chicken from the Drunken Immortal restaurant, he bragged to me the entire afternoon. His Chin family is just a nouveau riche, yet he dares to come to my house and show off. It's not like I can't afford to eat this chicken. The one surnamed Wang had a face full of arrogance. Ah, we came so early. How come there aren't any seats left? This Drunken Immortal restaurant is really too small. I heard that the chicken is only limited to 200 servings a day. We should be able to get in with our position. Those behind us are miserable. Today we'll have a taste of what the chicken that everyone talks about tastes like. 2 hours later, the 200 servings of chicken from the Drunken Immortal restaurant were all sold out. However, there was still a line of at least 100 people outside. Those who did not get in immediately became unhappy and began to make a ruckus. The order was in chaos, even alarming the Marquis of Chang'an. Helpless, shopkeeper Liu could only announce that the supply of chicken for the day would be increased by 100 servings. Only then was the chaos resolved. Taiji Palace. The old eunuch Zhao Song was reporting to Li Er everything he had found out about Li Zishuan's background. He also presented a piece of paper to Li Er. After hearing this, Li Er stood up and walked 2 steps with his hands behind his back. He said, "According to what you said, Li Zishuan did not intentionally get close to Cheng Xian and Changle." Finished speaking, he picked up the piece of paper and said with interest, "This Li Zishuan is actually proficient in mathematics, and even better than Su Hongji. I didn't think that this kid would have so many skills. But what are these squiggly words on the paper? If Li Zishuan was here, he would definitely recognize that the piece of paper was the financial statement he made at the ready-made clothing store that day. He didn't expect that the old eunuch would even get this. This old servant doesn't know either. According to the servant who was present at the time, Su Hongji didn't know what the word was either. Li Zishuan didn't explain either. While Li Er was still confused by the Arabic numerals, Li Zishuan was lying on a recliner in the west courtyard of the Li residence, flirting with 2 servant girls. Ah no, he was telling a story. This recliner was made by Carpenter Zhou from the east of the city by Sanbao 2 days ago. The blueprint was naturally drawn by Li Zishuan. Such a simple thing was a piece of cake for an engineering student like him. Li Zishuan told them Liang Shambua and Zhu Tai. In fact, he didn't have many stories in his head. He only remembered some TV dramas that he had watched many times when he was young. He basically didn't watch TV dramas during his university days. He felt that they were all the same, and it was heart-wrenching to watch. If he wasn't playing games every day, he would be chatting with his little girlfriend online. Being in a long-distance relationship was also very tiring. Young master, this Liang Shambua is so stupid. He slept with Zhu Yingtai for so long, yet he didn't know that she was a girl. How is this possible? Young master, you're making things up again. Not long after, Xiao He protested. How is it impossible? How am I making things up? Li Zishuan wasn't convinced. How could the love classics in his previous life be made up? Young master, a girl is a girl. Even if she is dressed as a boy, she can still be seen through. Young master, you must have watched too many TV dramas. Xiao He said as if she was very experienced. Who said that? Some girls dressed as boys can be easily seen through. For example, Xiao Shi. But for a girl like you, if you dress as a boy, it will be very hard to see through you. After Li Zishuan finished speaking, he looked at Xiao He's small chest with some bad intentions. Young master, Xiao He followed Li Zishuan's gaze and looked down. She instantly jumped up and blushed. She mumbled something to Li Zishuan for a long time, but she didn't know what to say. She stomped her feet in embarrassment, turned around, and ran away. Xiao Shi's face was also red. She didn't dare to raise her head to look at Li Zishuan again. She thought in her heart, did young master just compliment my big chest? The more she thought about it, the redder her face became. At this moment, Li Zishuan noticed a tall servant girl in green walking into the courtyard. Li Zishuan recognized this servant girl. She was his mother's servant. She seemed to be called Qing. Seeing that she was almost here, Li Zishuan stood up and said, "Why is Sister Qing here? Is my mother looking for me?" Chinger nodded with a smile and said, Madam invites young master to the front hall. After a while, Li Zixuan came to the front hall and saw his mother sitting in front of the hall. There was also a skinny old man in the hall. This person was the Li residence's housekeeper Wang. Li Zixuan had met him a few days ago. Xian, you're here. Come sit with mother. When Madame Li saw her son coming, she quickly smiled and waved her hand. Li Zixuan walked over and sat down. He said, Mother, why did you ask me to come over? Madame Li handed a small booklet to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan took it and flipped it open. It seemed to be an account book. He asked curiously, Mother, what is this? Madame Li smiled and said, This is the rent account that Steward Wang just sent over from the Han Manor in the eastern part of the city. Originally, the rent should have been paid a long time ago, but last year's harvest was not good, so Mother gave them a few more months. Originally, they should have been charged 50% of the rent, but Mother only charged them 40%. Isn't this because my Xian is good at reading? Mother asked you to come over and help Mother do the reading. In the past, every time Mother collected rent, Mother had to do it for a few days. This year, Xian happened to be here, so Mother saved a lot of trouble. Madame Li was very gratified when she said this. Her son could now help her share her worries. After Li Zixuan heard this, he smiled and said, Yes, Mother. In the future, leave these things to me. Mother, just relax and enjoy your life. Mother's heart is really good. You reduced the rent for those farmers by 10%. But then again, those farmers don't have it easy. After saying this, he asked with some doubt, Mother, why does our family still have so much fertile land? Why haven't I heard Father mention it? Madame Li unhappily rolled her eyes at him and said, These are all land that Mother bought in the past few years and rented to those farmers. Mother saw that there was so much spare money at home and couldn't just leave it lying around, so she took out a portion and bought some land. TSK. He didn't think that his mother's awareness was so advanced. Even in the Tang Dynasty, she knew to invest money to buy land. He asked curiously, Then, Mother, how much land have you bought in the past few years? Not much, only about 3,000 mu. Your father's shop often needs a lot of money, so Mother only bought this much. Pooh, Li Zixuan almost knelt down in front of his mother. 3,000 mu wasn't a lot, but he didn't think that he could be considered a big landlord. Mother, then I'll take this account book with me. I'll give it to you after I finish the reading tomorrow. Li Zixuan said as he flipped through the account book. Yes, then Xian will have to work hard. Mother will make something good for you at noon to nourish your brain. Madame Li smiled and said, Mother, it's not hard. In the future, let me do these things. Actually, it's really easy for me. I don't want Mother to waste her energy on these things. Yes, Mother knows. Xian is so filial. Go quickly. Chapter 19. The next morning, Li Zixuan took the account book and went to the east courtyard. Mother, I have finished calculating the account book you gave me yesterday morning. Please take a look. After saying that, he handed over the account book in his hand. Mrs. Li took the account book and said happily, I heard from your father that you are very knowledgeable. I didn't expect you to finish it so quickly. You have saved me a lot of trouble. Li Zixuan smiled and said, Mother, I want to go to the Han village to take a look. Mrs. Li was curious and asked, That place is so far away from home and the road is not easy. Why do you want to go there? Li Zixuan thought for a while and said, I want to see how the villagers are doing. I have been learning martial arts at Longhu Mountain for 8 years, but I don't know the hardships of the world. Master also wants me to do something for the people of Tang Empire. So, I want to go to the Han village today. Mrs. Li thought about her son's words and said happily, Since you want to go, I will go with you. Housekeeper Wang will go with you. Xian, bring some pastries. I don't think you will be able to make it back in the afternoon. Don't go hungry. Okay, thank you, Mother. I will go now. Li Zixuan went to the front courtyard and found Steward Wang Zhong. He told him that he wanted to go to the Han Manor and asked him to prepare a horse first. The Han Manor was about 30 li away from the Li residence, so they couldn't walk there. Brother, where are you going? Lanner saw housekeeper Wang going to the stables to get the horse and knew that her brother was going out. I want to go to the village to take a look. Lanner, can you wait for me at home? Lisa Schwan said helplessly. This sister of his was too clingy. No, Lanner is bored at home alone. Mother doesn't want to play with Lanner. Lanner wants to go to the village with brother. Lanner shook her head like a rattle drum. Okay. Shall he and shall she, you two go too. Take care of Mississippi Sandbow. Go get a carriage. These girls definitely didn't know how to ride a horse. Lisa Schwan asked Sandbow to get a carriage. Not long after, the group set off for the Han village. They left Chang and city from Yinqing Gate and headed east. The road became more and more difficult. Lisa Schwan and Wang Zhong didn't feel anything on their horses, but the carriage behind them kept shaking, which made the three maidservants cry out in surprise. Sanbao, slow down. Don't overturn the carriage. Lisa Schwan didn't know if Sanbao was an experienced driver, but he was afraid that the carriage would overturn. He and Steward Wang slowed down the speed of the horse so that Sanbao could drive slower. Just like that, the group walked for more than 2 hours on the 30-something-mile road. At this time, he saw a village not far ahead. He could vaguely see a few people working in the fields. Young master, that's the Han village. Wang Zhong stopped his horse and pointed at the village. Well, then let's go quickly. It's almost noon. Uncle Wang, can you find a family and give them some money? We'll have lunch in the village. Lisa Schwan ordered. Wang Zhong was more familiar with this place than him. His family often sent him to collect rent, so it was best for him to arrange it. Yes, young master. Why don't we go to Han Lijing's house at noon? Every time Madame sends me here to collect rent, Han Lijing is very cooperative. Wang Zhong suggested. Okay, then Uncle Wang, you lead the way. The group of people rode into the village. It was the spring plowing season. At the entrance of the village, they could see many people pulling oxen to plow the fields. There were also 2 or 3 children chasing and playing on the ridges of the fields. Occasionally, there would be a few roosters and dogs barking in the village. Lisa Schwan often saw this scene in his previous life. He was born and raised in a village. Lan was very new to this scene. She had been the little princess of the family since she was born. She had never seen such a scene in a village before. She got off the carriage and held her brother's hand, looking around as they walked. Lisa Schwan left the horse and carriage at the entrance of the village and asked Sanbao to take good care of them. He led the group into the village, and, under Wang Zhong's lead, they went straight to Han Lijing's house. Young master, we're here. This is Han Lijing's house. After a while, Wang Zhong pointed to a rundown farmhouse in front of them. Lisa Schwan was a little surprised. In his opinion, if this place was in the future, it would be equivalent to a village chief. How could the place be so run down? Since they were in front of someone's house, it was not good to say much. He immediately walked in with Wang Zhong. Oh, Butler Wang, you're here. A dark-skinned, middle-aged man in the courtyard saw Lisa Schwan and the group and quickly went up to greet them. However, Lisa Schwan noticed that the man's right leg seemed to be a little disabled, and he was limping as he walked. However, from the thick muscles on his arm, it was obvious that this middle-aged man's body contained a lot of strength. Han Lijing, this is my family's young master and young mistress. My madam has calculated the rent that your farmstead paid this year, and there's no problem. Today, my young master wants to come to the Han Manor to take a look. Wang Zhong introduced to Han Lijing. When Han Lijing heard this, he quickly bowed respectfully to Lisa Schwan and Lan and said, Greetings to young master and young mistress. Lisa Schwan quickly returned the greeting and said, Uncle Han, you don't have to be so courteous. We'll be bothering Uncle Han later. Seeing that it's almost noon, I'll bring this group of people to Uncle Han's house for lunch. Uncle Han, don't worry, we've brought our own ingredients and pastries. We only need to borrow Uncle Han's kitchen to heat them up, and we'll pay the corresponding remuneration. When Han Lijing heard this, his face instantly turned red, and he straightened his neck and said, Young master, you're flattering me. My Han Manor's harvest last year wasn't good, and not only did Madame Li reduce our rent by 10%, she also extended the deadline of half a year. If it weren't for Madame Li's benevolence, who knows how many people in my Han Manor would have starved to death. Now that young master is coming to my house for a meal, how could I let young master bring his own ingredients? How could I dare to take young master's money? If the villagers knew, they'd poke at my spine. Young master, you must never say such things again. Although I, Han Tianhu, am a boor, I still know how to repay kindness. Well, he accidentally hurt the other party's self-esteem. Li Zishuan quickly explained, Uncle Han, don't misunderstand. I don't have any other intentions by giving you money. This is what you deserve. There's no such thing as not paying for a meal in this world. Seeing that Han Lijing straightened his neck and wanted to decline again, Li Zishuan hurriedly said, Since Uncle Han doesn't want to accept it, I won't force you. Thank you for your hospitality today, Uncle Han. If the Han Manor has any difficulties in the future, Uncle Han can look for Steward Wong. I'll try my best to solve it. Use our ingredients for lunch. After all, the ingredients we brought will definitely spoil if we don't eat them. It's just that we'll have to use some of Uncle Han's firewood. Only then did Han Lijing reluctantly accept. He waved his hand and said, It's just some firewood. It's not worth much money. Young master, use it as much as you can. Once you're done, I'll go to the mountains to chop some more. Young master, young miss, please come in and have a seat. The group of people then enter the house. Chapter 20. My humble abode is too simple and crude. I'm sorry for neglecting young master and young mistress. After entering the house, Han Lijing said embarrassedly. Li Zishuan looked around. It was indeed very simple and crude. The only valuable thing was probably the MO sword hanging on the wall. However, Li Zishuan was a little confused. This kind of sword was usually only found in the army. Why did Han Lijing have one in his house? It's okay, Uncle Han. We don't mind. Uncle Han, where's your kitchen? I'll ask my maid to heat up the food. Li Zishuan waved his hand and said unconcernedly. Han Lijing quickly shook his head and said, I wouldn't dare to trouble young master's people. I'll ask my brat to call my daughter back to cook for you. Young master and young mistress, please take a seat here. After saying that, he cupped his hands and walked out. Outside the courtyard, Han Lijing roared towards the east. Tai Dan, you stinking brat, get back here. After a while, a young child's voice could be heard outside the courtyard. Father, why did you call me? Han Lijing said, Brat, quickly go up the mountain and call your sister back. Tell her that there are important guests at home. Tell her to come back and cook. Oh, father, who's here? Brat, you talk too much nonsense. Go. Then they heard a series of hurried footsteps gradually fading away. Han Lijing returned to the house and smiled apologetically at Li Zishuan. Young master, please take a seat for a while. My daughter went up the mountain to pick wild fruits and mushrooms in the morning. She'll be back soon. Li Zishuan nodded and asked, Uncle Han, how have the people in the manor been these years? Han Lijing said, In the past few years in the village, most of the families were living precarious lives and did not have enough food to fill their stomachs. At that time, the rent for the main house was very high, and every year they had to pay 70% of the rent. In addition, during those years, the world was not peaceful and the harvest was not good, which made the situation even worse. During the slack time, I had to bring a few hunters into the mountains to hunt and deliver them to the city to exchange for money. 3 years ago, young master's family bought the land of the Han family manor. Not only did Madame Li allow us to continue farming, she even reduced the rent to 50%. In addition, in recent years, the world has gradually become peaceful, so life in the manor has become much better. At the very least, no one will starve to death now. This is all thanks to Madame Li. After saying that, Han Lijing's eyes were filled with gratitude. Li Zishuan was somewhat speechless. These villagers weathered wind and rain year after year, working themselves to death just so that they wouldn't starve to death, just so that they could survive. It was such a simple request, but it was difficult to satisfy in this era. It wasn't because of natural disasters or war, but because of the oppression from the noble class. Li Zishuan felt that it was unfair for these villagers, and his heart was very vexed. Perhaps it was because he was also the son of a farmer in his previous life. At that moment, a very clear and pleasant voice came from outside the house. Father, your daughter is back. Then, he heard a series of footsteps coming into the house. At the door, A young girl of 13 or 14 years old came in. She was wearing rough clothes that had been washed until they were white, and there were a few neat red patches on her sleeves. The patches were quite artistic, and they were arranged in the shape of a plum blossom. From afar, it looked like a plum blossom that was embroidered on. The young girl had an oval face with extremely delicate facial features. Her skin was smooth, and she had a sharp chin. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, and she had a beautiful figure. Just by looking at her face, she was as pure as a fairy from the heavens. However, her pair of lively eyes were not like those of a fairy from the heavens who did not eat the food of mortals. Her pair of eyes contained the wind and frost of the world. The simple hemp clothes matched the young girl's beautiful face, but did not reduce the young girl's peerless elegance. It made people feel that she was a peerless fairy who had descended to the mortal world. Just her current appearance was more beautiful than any of the pure girls he had seen in his previous life. If she were to wear the fresh and beautiful clothes of those celebrities, Lisa Schwann could not imagine how beautiful she would be. Lisa Schwann didn't expect that he would be able to see such a stunning woman in such a remote and desolate place. The two little maids by his side were already very beautiful, but in front of this young girl, they were somewhat overshadowed. Xiaohe's beauty was a kind of lively and cute beauty. Xiaoxi's beauty was a kind of beauty from a small family in Jiangnan. The girl in front of him was a kind of beauty that was fresh and refined, like a poem or a painting. Lisa Schwann was stunned for a moment when he saw her. It was only when Lanner tugged at him that he woke up. "Father, daughter heard from Iron Egg that there are guests in the house." The young girl asked Han Lijing. "Yushi, come here. This is Steward Wang. You have seen him before. This is the young master of Chong, Ansley family. This is the young miss of the Li family. Young master, young miss, this is my daughter. Her name is Han Yushi. Yushi, quickly greet the young master and young miss." Han Lijing pulled Han Yushi and introduced them to each other. Han Yushi, what a beautiful name. Lisa Schwann inexplicably praised in his heart. Yushi greets young master, greets young miss. Han Yushi bowed to Lisa Schwann and Lanner. Lisa Schwann hurriedly returned the greeting and said, "Hello, Miss Han." Lanner saw Han Yushi and happily jumped up and said, "Wow, Sister Han is so beautiful. It would be great if Lanner could be as beautiful as Sister Han when she grows up." Han Yushi was a little embarrassed by Lanner's praise. Her pink cheeks were slightly red. However, seeing that Lanner was really cute, she couldn't help but like this little girl. She squatted down and touched Lanner's little face. She smiled and said, "Young miss will definitely be 100 times more beautiful than Yushi when she grows up." "Really? Really?" Lanner heard this and became even more excited. At this moment, Han Lijing said to Han Yushi, "Yushi, young master and young miss will be having lunch at home. Father knows that your cooking skills are excellent. Quickly go to the kitchen and prepare a few dishes. Stew the pheasant that father hunted yesterday. Go quickly. Don't let the guests wait for too long." "Okay, father. I will go now," Han Yushi responded crisply. She then turned to Lisa Schwann and Lanner and said, "Young master and young miss, please take a seat. Yushi will be back soon." Listening to her gentle voice, Lisa Schwann felt that his heart was about to melt. It was as if the dry land was moistened by the spring rain. "Xiaohe, quickly go to the carriage and get the ingredients and pastries that we brought. Send them to the kitchen and let Miss Han heat them up," Lisa Schwann said to Xiaohe. Xiaohe was about to accept the order and leave when she heard Han Lijing say to the door, "Brat, quickly come in. What are you hiding outside the door for?" A little boy with a strong head walked in. He was about 6 or 7 years old. When he saw so many strangers, he was still a little shy. The little boy said to Lisa Schwann and Lana, "Hello, young master and young miss." Obviously, he had been eavesdropping outside for a long time. Lisa Schwann nodded at him. Lana smiled mischievously at him. When the little boy saw this, he became even more shy. He then said to Han Lijing, "Father, you called me." Han Lijing pointed at Xiaohe and said to him, "This young miss is going to the carriage at the entrance of the village to get something. Accompany her. Be careful and don't run around. Do you hear me?" "Yes, father. I got it." Li Zixuan smiled. This Han Lijing was quite thoughtful. Xiao he might really get lost in the village alone. He smiled kindly at Han Lijing and said, "Thank you, Uncle Han." He then said to Xiao He, quickly go with Iron Egg. Be careful. Yes, young master. Xiao He will go now. Chapter 21. After Li Zixuan chatted with Han Lijing for a while, he saw Han Yushi and Iron Egg coming in with dishes. Young master, young miss, father, it's time to eat. Han Yushi placed the dishes on a square table that was very old but very clean. She smiled and called for everyone to eat. Young master, young miss, sit down and eat. Han Lijing quickly greeted. Well, Uncle Han, you don't have to be so polite. Sit down too. Miss Han, you have worked hard cooking. Come and sit with Iron Egg. Li Zixuan said. Han Yushi was a little hesitant, but Iron Egg was very happy. He had been drooling over the pheasant meat on the table and the chicken that Li Zixuan brought over. He had not eaten meat for a long time. When he saw the golden and crispy chicken, he could not control himself. Just now, he wanted to stretch out his hand to steal a bite in the kitchen several times, but he was discovered by his sister and was chased out of the kitchen. Now that he heard Li Zixuan invite him to eat together, he could not hold back anymore. He lifted his foot and was about to walk over, but Han Lijing glared at him fiercely. He was so scared that he immediately retracted his foot. Young master, you and young miss eat first. There is still food in the kitchen. Iron Egg and my daughter can eat in the kitchen. Although Han Lijing also wanted his son and daughter to eat together, the Li family was a great benefactor to the Han village. This time, the young master and young miss could come to his house for dinner. He was also very happy. He specially asked his daughter to stew the pheasant that he was going to sell yesterday to treat the guests well. At this time, he could not be rude. How can this be? We came to Uncle Han's house to eat. Uncle Han, you did not charge us for the meal. How can we steal the limelight at this time? If Miss Han and Iron Egg do not eat together, we will not eat this meal. Li Zixuan firmly disagreed. He saw how Iron Egg looked at the table and drooled just now. He could not help but sympathize with the people of this era. They might not even be able to eat meat during the new year. Li Zixuan's abilities were indeed limited. He couldn't make the people of the world live a good life, but he could still make Iron Egg's family eat a good meal. Another reason was that it was indeed a great pleasure to be able to eat at the same table with such a beautiful woman like Han Yushi. Of course, our upright Li Zixuan would never admit this reason even if he was beaten to death. Han Lijing was helpless. He could only nod at his son and daughter. Since young master is kind, come and eat with us. Iron Egg cheered and immediately sat in the empty seat next to Lanner. Han Yushi smiled gratefully at Li Zixuan and sat beside Han Lijing, which happened to be opposite of Li Zixuan. She was not greedy, but she also hoped that she could let her little brother eat meat. Only then did the group of people take their seats and start eating. At this moment, Han Lijing suddenly patted his head as if he had thought of something. He stood up and said, I haven't brought the wine for young master. Young master, there isn't any good wine in the countryside, but the fruit wine made by my family's Yushi tastes quite good. I'll bring it for young master and young mistress to try. Then, without waiting for Li Zixuan to refuse, he ran into the inner room to get the wine. Li Zixuan originally wanted to refuse. He did not drink. Later, when he heard that it was just fruit wine and it was made by Han Yushi herself, he hesitated. Seeing that Han Lijing went in to get the wine without waiting for him to speak, he did not say anything. Instead, he was somewhat expectant. After a while, Han Lijing came out with a wine jar. He said to Li Zixuan, Young master, this is the fruit wine made by my family's Yushi. It is made with wild strawberries and hawthorns on a mountain. I'm not boasting, but the taste is really good. Yunshi Restaurant buys this wine every year in Chang'an City at a high price of 10 copper coins per caddy. As he spoke, he poured a bowl for Li Zixuan and the others. Father, Iron Egg also wants to drink it. Iron Egg licked his lips and looked at Han Lijing eagerly. Obviously, he must have drunk it before and still could not forget it. Han Lijing glared at his son angrily. Li Zixuan hurriedly said, Uncle Han, since Iron Egg wants to drink it, let him drink it. We can't finish so much. Well, this guy thought that Han Lijing carried such a big jar of wine for them to drink. In fact, Han Lijing also knew that such a big jar of wine could not be finished by Lisa Xuan and the others. He even planned to take the rest to the city to sell. However, when he heard Lisa Xuan's words, it was even harder for him to explain anything. He poured a bowl for his son and daughter and said, "Since young master said so, Yushi, Taidan, you guys can accompany young master for a drink at noon." Iron Egg was very happy. He did not expect this young master from the city to be so easy to talk to. He was much more modest than the son of the landlord Liu. He was very grateful to Lisa Xuan. How could he know that Lisa Xuan was interested in his sister? Lisa Xuan looked at the fruit wine in the bowl. It was bright red and very beautiful. He sniffed it gently and found that there was no smell of alcohol. Only then did he feel relieved. He picked up the wine and took a sip. It was sweet and sour, with the sourness of hawthorns and the sweetness of strawberries. It was much better than the fruit juice of the future. After all, the ingredients of this fruit wine were all natural and pollution-free. Lisa Xuan smacked his lips and exclaimed in admiration. Miss Han's winemaking skills are really superb. The taste of this wine is really great. If you ask me, I'd say that House Yunchi has made a great bargain by selling this fruit wine for 10 copper coins per caddy. Lan also took a sip and could not stop. This sweet and sour taste had a fatal attraction to children. When she heard her brother's words, she quickly agreed. Yes, yes, brother is right. Sister Yushi, you are so good. This fruit wine is so delicious. Lanner has never drunk such delicious fruit wine in her life. Lisa Xuan was a little amused. This little girl was only 6 years old, and she still had the nerve to say that she had grown up. Han Yushi said shyly and modestly, "Young master and miss, you flatter me. Actually, this winemaking is very simple. These ingredients are originally some worthless things on the mountain. Yushi is already very satisfied to be able to sell it for 10 copper coins per caddy." Lisa Xuan shook his head. He had an idea. If he slightly modified this mountain fruit wine, it would definitely sell well in the summer. He said to Han Lijing, "Uncle Han, do you know the Zuatian restaurant in Chang in West City?" Han Lijing nodded. "I know. I went to the West City yesterday and saw that the Zuatian restaurant's business was very good. There was a long line in front of the door. I don't know what they were queuing for." Lisa Xuan smiled and said, "To be honest, Uncle Han, the Zuatian restaurant is my family's business. Those people queuing in front of the Zuatian restaurant yesterday were precisely to buy this gnawed chicken." Lisa Xuan pointed to the plate of gnawed chicken and saw that there were only a few pieces of chicken left on the plate. It turned out that Iron Egg saw that the adults were talking happily at the side. After he tasted a piece of the golden gnawed chicken, he could no longer stop. While the few of them were talking, this brat wretchedly developed at the side and gorged himself on the food. Han Lijing was instantly furious. "Iron Egg, you little bastard." After saying that, he stood up and was about to beat him up. Lisa Xuan quickly pulled Han Lijing back. "Uncle Han, don't be impulsive. This gnawed chicken is not something valuable. I have a lot of it at home. Iron Egg ate it. Today, everyone is eating happily together. Don't be angry." Lisa Xuan persuaded Han Lijing for a long time before he finally stopped. Han Lijing sat down and glared at Iron Egg fiercely. When Iron Egg saw that his father was angry, he was about to run away. Seeing that Lisa Xuan stopped his father, he didn't want to run away. He was a little embarrassed and whispered, "Thank you, young master." Lawn Air was watching from the side and was quite interested. She said to Iron Egg, "Brother Iron Egg, what do you want to eat? Call me sister and I will get it for you. Then your father won't be angry at you." Seeing that such a beautiful and cute little girl like Lawn Air was talking to him, Iron Egg instantly blushed and said, "Miss Lawn Air, you might not be older than Iron Egg, right?" Lawn Air picked up a piece of chicken and stared at Iron Egg when she heard what he said. She shook the piece of chicken in her hand and threatened him. Iron Egg looked at the piece of chicken and swallowed his saliva. He had never eaten such delicious chicken before. After hesitating for a long time, he bitterly shouted, "Sister Lawn Air." Lawn Air smiled and replied, Brother Iron Egg, good boy." After saying that, she put the piece of chicken into Iron Egg's bowl. Iron Egg looked at the piece of chicken in his bowl and thought to himself, "It's worth it to call me sister." Lisa Schwan ignored his little sister's nonsense and continued to talk to Han Lijing. "Uncle Han, as you can see, Drunken Immortal Restaurant's business is very good. In the future, if you sell fruit wine to Drunken Immortal Restaurant, we will buy it for 30 copper coins per caddy. We will buy as much as you have. You can also ask the villagers to go up the mountain to help you pick wild fruits. You can give them some compensation. After all, Miss Han can only pick a limited amount, and if there are wild beasts in the mountain, Miss Han won't be safe alone. Don't you think so?" Han Yushi heard that Lisa Schwan was faintly concerned about her and felt happy for some reason. She lowered her head and ate without saying anything. When Han Lijing heard that Lisa Schwan was offering 30 copper coins per caddy, his breathing quickened. However, after a while, he still rationally refused. "No, how can we do business like Young Master? Young Master will lose money if he does this. We will sell the wine to Young Master in the future, but we will still only sell it for 10 copper coins per caddy. We, the people of the Han village, cannot do such an unkind thing." Alas, why were the people these days so simple? Lisa Schwan said, "Uncle Han, listen to me. Since I dare to buy it for 30 copper coins per caddy, I will definitely not lose money. I will even make a lot of money. As long as Uncle Han sees that I have made so much money and doesn't regret it, it will be fine." Lisa Schwan said, half-jokingly. Han Lijing heard this, and his face turned red. He stood up and said, "Young Master, how can I, old Han, be the kind of person who goes back on his words?" Seeing him like this, Lisa Schwan quickly comforted him. "Uncle Han, don't worry. I'm just joking with you. I know that Uncle Han is a person who values loyalty. Uncle Han, there's a reason why I am offering 30 copper coins per caddy. Look, you hired the villagers to pick wild fruits for Miss Han. You cannot pay them, right? This is all part of the cost. This will also increase the income of the villagers of the Han family village." When Han Lijing heard this, he carefully thought about Lisa Schwan's meaning. As Lijing, he naturally knew that the villagers of the Han family village lived a very poor life. Although compared to the villagers of other villages, it was still much better. However, he also wanted the villagers to live a better life. Lisa Schwan's suggestion also moved him. After thinking for a while, he said to Lisa Schwan, "Since Young Master is kind enough to give us a way out, then I, Old Han, will represent the entire village to thank Young Master." After saying this, he stood up and bowed to Lisa Schwan with cupped fists. Lisa Schwan quickly came over to support him and told him not to be so polite. At this time, Han Lijing added, "However, if Young Master loses money in the future, then the purchase price will automatically be reduced to 10 copper coins per caddy. At that time, the wages will also be reduced. When the time comes, I, Old Han, will be responsible for persuading the villagers. Young Master, if you don't agree to this, then this business deal will end here. I, Han Lijing, would rather starve to death than harm Young Master." Lisa Schwan could only helplessly agree. This Han Lijing was really too straightforward. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.